Okay, I'm almost live. I just need to put in my ears, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, now I really am back. Let's see. Let's make sure the any music is muted. I don't think it's playing right now. And let me get my audio set up. Give me a moment, please. Connected. Why am I not hearing anything? Let's see. There we go. There we go. It's a little too loud, so I'll turn it back down. Okay, I am ready. We had a long stream last night, incredibly long. And today we, I'm not, it went what, 6 hours, almost 6 hours. Well, we'll go as long as there's interest. Let me send a link to the Discord crew. One moment. Let's find the live stream link. Copy that and tell the Discord crew I'm online. Let's see, almost there. And live now. My Discord crew has trained me to make sure I ping them so that they're aware whenever I stream. Okay, terrific, terrific, terrific. Well, this was a spontaneous stream. I was working all day on reviewing my notes, going and researching other reviews on the Moving Pad 11, just to sort of triangulate a few things. And so I've been sort of heads down the entire day working on that. And as a break, I decided to do a fun topic. Hey, Void Outs, glad you're joining us. Good to see you. So yeah, my break from all that is to talk about tablets, because that's what I enjoy doing. Is it? It's ominous. I wanted something just a little, because I'm wearing something very muted, which is a gray shirt, a black blazer, and it's the same dark brown tie from last night. I think it looks good. I'm actually liking the look quite a bit. But because it's very dark and somber and kind of monochrome looking, I wanted a little more color in the background. So I decided to liven it up a bit. But I wasn't going for ominous. I was just going for a nice color, right? I think it looks good. I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so what's on the agenda for today? Well, you know what? I often do these streams when I have something to say about a topic, and how do I begin this? I always deal with persistent questions, same topics over and over, come up when people want to buy a drawing tablet, and one of them that comes up often is the size of drawing tablets, like what size you should get. I made a video about it back in 2022. It's one of my earlier videos, actually. And I think my feelings have evolved a bit, and I wanted to share some of that. And of course, take questions and get your feedback, which is why I have these live stream sessions. So that's what the plan is for today. And in the course of that, I wanted to actually, believe it or not, to help us explore the topic of size, I wanted to use AI. Now, don't make sure we're on the same page here, because I know, especially with my audience, which I've rarely mentioned AI of any kind on this channel, but I want to make sure we're clear on what I'm talking about with AI before I get into it. Number one, I am not talking about generative AI. Okay, hi Hera, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I don't use generative AI in the way this audience cares about, I think, which is I don't generate images from AI. I do generate things, I'll talk about what those things are, but they're not pictures, they're not creative things. I don't even use it for music or anything. I certainly don't generate writing from it. Not in the sense you might believe, but I'll talk about it. I do use AI quite a bit, actually. But one thing I've been doing with AI lately is, I'm not sure if I hate using the phrase or I love using the phrase, is vibe coding. Now, I have a long background in writing code, okay? And I'm proud to say some of my code made it into a Microsoft product, even though that wasn't my primary job function. I helped design, well, no, I did design it, and an implementation that accomplished something. And it made it into Microsoft code in a product. One day maybe I'll talk about it. But I do like coding. It's a very therapeutic, fun, and I find it quite relaxing actually. Frustrating too sometimes. But vibe coding is just really, it's really interesting because there's lots of things I want to do that, you know, maybe I don't really care about studying the topic so much, but the vibe coding helps me accelerate the process because I need a lot of simple tools sometimes. And in fact, that's why I want to do a little bit of AI in today's session, which is about drawing tablet sizes actually, is because what I've realized with some of the vibe coding is I can build tiny apps that are, you know, purpose built just for a situation. And I have such a situation when we're talking about drawing tablet size. So we'll see that in the middle of our conversation, okay? As always, we'll take Q&A. I'll answer whatever questions you have. I graduated computer science, but didn't pursue a coding career, Voidout says. I'm curious, Voidout, what career did you pursue, if not a coding career? I'm not really sure what to say to people now who might be considering a coding career. I'm not sure it's a great time to be coding these days, right? Because I don't know how the industry is shaking out. It must be pretty tough to exist in today's world with the competition and of course with AI in the mix. Okay, in order to talk about drawing tablet sizes, I'm gonna bring up an old deck, and you know what, I think I need a piece of equipment because I want to do a little bit of whiteboarding. So you're in UI UX? Okay. I was, as a program manager, involved in that quite a bit as well. But I didn't get into the technology or the coding too much. Even though I have coded quite a bit of UX, but that was mostly in WinForms and some web dev stuff. Okay, now I want to figure out how to do this. First, I need to get a deck, meaning a PowerPoint presentation from 2022, because I think I'll need to refer to it. So give me a moment as I try to find it. And what do I do with this? Hang on. I think, yeah, here we go. Sorry, I'm resizing some windows to make it a little bit easier for me to see the content and the questions and everything else. Well. Okay, I guess that's as small as I can make that window. Great. Okay, where is now the documents I need? This is, by the way, week 2 of me switching to Mac OS. And, you know, I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable with it, a little more productive. I've only had one incident where I sort of had to go use my Windows machine and kind of sat there for a while. But after observing myself do that for an hour or two, I made myself stop and go back to Mac OS. I will say that one of the things that makes it more possible is that most of the stuff lots of the things I do right now are in the browser. So switching to Mac OS, that's easy, in those situations. Okay, hang on. Let me open up the old, I'm gonna dig this up from the past here. It was a 2022 blog on drawing tablets. So here we go. I found it. Okay. So let me copy that because I don't want to accidentally update it while we're in the middle of the stream. How's the music, Hera and Voidout? I hope it's not too too loud? Or do you want it louder? Just let me know. I'm seeing the spinning beach ball thing, the rainbow beach ball on macOS, so I'm kind of just waiting for it to finish thinking. I think it's just waiting to connect to my NAS on my network. It has taken a while, isn't it? Music's all right? Okay, good, good. Okay, I found it, and I can copy it now. Let me copy it and bring it into my my OneDrive, which I used for these streams. Sorry for the delay. I just want to make sure we get the materials set up. What is today's date? 2025, 8/12. There we go. 8/12. Sizes. Yeah. And paste the item. Okay. So this is the deck. Let me show it to you. There we go. So again, this is the deck that was made back in March of 2022, which is my YouTube channel only been in existence for, I think a month and a half or something, 2 months or less. And so this is a long presentation that goes through a lot of stuff. And, one thing I've realized as I make this channel is I have a tendency to explain things a certain way, which may be, I don't know, maybe too academic. So I'm using this to maybe test out some ideas on how to redo this explanation. And again, address some scenarios that I didn't get a chance to when I first made it, because lots have changed. My opinions on some things have changed. How I think about certain sizes has changed. And, the thing that's changed, the source of that change, where did it come from? It was interacting with you and people on the Discord and on Reddit. And I see a variety of opinions. Now, I think some of my conclusions are still correct, and I'm going to double down on them. And some of them, I'm going to revise. At the very least, I'm going to add more nuance. And in some cases, I might change my opinion on certain things, actually. So yeah, I'm just showing this deck. It was kind of a long, I don't know, maybe it went for 20 minutes. But you can see some of these slides here, like I talked about, the size that Sal Khan uses. And we'll talk about these recommendations, okay? But we'll try to do some original stuff here. Now, I want to draw, so I think I'm going to need a tablet for that. I have two choices here. I got to think about how to do this. I could use the Move Ink, or I could use a Cintiq 16. I'm going to try the Move Ink because it's so light. And I can use it like an output display. Okay, as I do that, let me just clean up a few things. Where is Chrome? Always try to make sure everything's cleaned up, ready for you. So instead of just showing you slides, I'll try to avoid that. I'll try to refer to my slides and talk to you, fresh. Let's see. So just give me a little bit of time here as I clean up. I'm in a good mood today. That long stream last night, actually, even though I was very tired, I couldn't sleep afterwards. I feel energized today, actually. Okay, there we go. I've cleaned up a little bit. Now I need something to draw on. The moving is here. Now I know what's going to happen if I plug this into my streaming computer. It's going to mess up everything. So instead, I'm going to get my MacBook or something. Maybe not a MacBook. Maybe what else do I have next to me? The Surface does not have the Wacom driver. So maybe I will use the MacBook, okay? Give me a second, and let me go find it, and then we'll come back, and I think I even know the app I want to use for the whiteboarding, because I think it will be important to whiteboard this. And yeah, let's see. Okay, so give me a minute, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have my MacBook here. And just in case, I brought over the Cintiq 16, but I'll try the moving first. You shouldn't see a difference. It's more for me because I want to make sure that I just have enough space to draw with. Which is quite appropriate that I mention this, because this is in fact the fundamental topic of what we're talking about today, which is what size should we use for doing things? Oh, I picked up the 1616. We're trying to use the moving. Moving, I'll plug it into the MacBook. Right, okay, and then I need a power cable. I'm actually going to reuse the Huion Canvas Pro 19 power cable for this MacBook. There we go. It's 85% charged, but you know, I'm always very paranoid. Hey, Dermond, it's nice to see you again. It's nice to see you again. Okay. And let me just clean up my desk. I still have all these XP X3 Pro pencils everywhere, so I'm just putting them in their slots. And I'm just trying to hold this up so you can see my really simple design for these pencils, or these pens. Well, it's very simple design, but it works well for my needs. Though I have a more interesting design set up here as well. Okay, so what do I need to do here? Dear Mon, thank you for joining us. And again, I just got to say, if you have any specific topics you want us to talk about, just let us know and we'll talk about them. I'm glad you joined us, dear Mon. It has been a while. Let's see. Oh, we have people. Stielbacht. Uno. Stielbacht. Stilbach. I love that name. Moving 16. Yes, that you and I are on the same page. Where is it? I still don't understand why we just can't have a 6. Look, even if the current Moving 16, even if it was still an LCD, why can't it be thinner? I'm still not understanding this. But yeah, I want a Moving 16. Voidot says, I used to have an XP Deco something small. I used it for 2 years. It was, hey Christian, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, that's good. That's good. So am I correct, Stilbach? There's is that a German name? I studied a little bit of German for 18 months, 30 years ago. I still retain a lot of the knowledge, but I can only talk about really simple things, But as I like to tell people, I would not be troubled if you sort of threw me in the middle of Germany, because I know how to ask questions, so I could figure out what to do. Let's see. Hera says, I don't think they want to make a Moving 16 because it will take sales away from Cintiq 16 and 17 Pros. I agree with you, Hera. I think that must be the reason. And I guess it leads me back to my really fundamental question. There's two sort of things that my dilemma here is, why aren't the Cintiq, if the Cintiq 16 was thinner, much thinner, I wouldn't probably be as interested in the 16-inch Moving, right? And the second thing is, I guess, I feel like it is kind of confusing having the Moving there, because again, it's this thing in the similar size category as some other tablets they have. It has the professional features, and it's expensive at the professional tablets, but it's just at a little bit of a smaller size than you'd expect, right? So it adds a little bit of like product line confusion. Don't get me wrong, I love the Moving. I do feel that it causes confusion sometimes. Okay, there's a Mac app for drawing. Oh, it doesn't work with those things. That's fine. I'm going to use OneNote maybe. So you can't see what I'm doing, so just give me a minute. Or I could use Concepts, which I think runs on the Mac. But I'm not very good with Concepts. OneNote. Let's do this. And, I have to do one more thing. I'm going to have to take this cable, plug it into my MacBook. And then I'm going to have to just, so I know it's all a little confusing. You can't see what I'm doing. I have to, okay, and you should see, where is it? Yeah, that's the correct thing. You're actually seeing a OneNote. Okay, great. You're seeing the right thing. So you're seeing what I'm seeing on my Moving, right? Even though you're not seeing me draw on it, that is what's being projected. Dermon, next they released the Moving 13 because it's easier to carry around. 12, Moving 12. I wouldn't doubt it. Okay, let me take a drink of water here. Okay. So again, the topic of today is sizes. We're going to go over sizes of drawing tablets. We'll actually do a little bit of vibe coding to do that size discussion. But the first thing is, let's just talk about the structure, what we're going to talk about, okay? So I'm going to try OneNote. I keep forgetting that let me see if touch will actually work on this Mac. No, touch doesn't work the way you think it would work. It's not as seamless as Windows on Mac as it is on Mac OS with this Wacom driver installed. Which is a shame, which is actually a shame. Okay, sorry. 08, what is the date today? The 12th. Okay. And you're gonna see what I'm seeing in a minute. Just please be a little patient. We're getting there. Okay, here we go. There we go. So today's topic is gonna be, let's see if it draws correctly. Of course it doesn't. Let's do drawing, huh? Okay, that's good enough. Today's discussion will be about the size of drawing tablets, okay? Size. And the one thing I have learned, honestly, about size is that I think when I first made my video in 2022, I was more certain in some ways, and I've become less certain on some things, or at least, again, more nuanced, right? But the important thing I'd like to convey to you is these two things, right? You have to consider the size differently between pen tablets and pen displays, okay? These have to be considered very differently. Because how they work is very different. They're just very different considerations, okay? Originally, I thought the considerations were kind of more, well, not similar, but closer. I think they're further away now. And to summarize what I think is probably the thing I've learned fundamentally is, for pen tablets, I believe there is really one right size, okay? Oh, I shouldn't say it like that. It's rather misleading. I would say there's a size I'd recommend for the vast majority of people. And the other sizes are special cases, right? And there's one size I'd recommend, you know, there's ways to be safe about what size you pick. We'll talk about that. And then there's for pen displays though, I don't think there is one right size. I think there are sizes that I'd recommend that are in a range. And even then, I see that people don't fit into neat categories, okay? So we need to understand the different situations that cause people to want different sizes for pen displays. The other thing I learned is that there are different considerations when you start to get to different sizes, things I hadn't thought about. Let me give you a great example. Heat, right? It seems like the larger pen displays generate more heat. It seems like they're much heavier, and that matters, okay? And those are things I really didn't have in my mind, okay? Dermond, for your comment on medium and up, small is cool for editing stuff, you're talking about pen displays or pen tablets, right? So just make sure I have you correct on this. Screenless, so you can't see what I'm typing. Less versus screen. Okay. Let me check my Discord to see if anyone else is here. Okay. So we have that topic. Now I'm going to scroll down, and before I get into this topic, I'm just going to have to make a little bit of a, where's the drawing tool? There we go. I'm going to have to make a little bit of an apology, okay? And this is mostly to, I think, my non-US colleagues. In this video, I'm going to tend to speak in the imperial metrics, right? Or imperial units, rather, right? So you're going to see me say inches, okay? Because that's what the drawing tablet manufacturers use, and I'm an American, so I don't know how to use millimeters and centimeters, okay? Interesting, Hera. You feel like you can go smaller on a pen display than a pen tab. I can see that, right? And then So we're gonna do this because it's the standard way. So let's first talk, and I've got my slide deck here, but I'm not gonna show it because we're gonna talk about things. Okay. So the first topic is which kind of tablets I'm gonna talk about. We've got obviously pen tablets, pen displays, and that's really today's discussion. I'm actually not going to talk about standalone. Those are just very different kinds of devices, okay? Just incredibly different kinds of devices. So this is like maybe another time, okay? Okay, now, we're going to begin with pen tablets and then we'll get to pen displays because we'll learn enough with pen tablets. And I think we're going to go into some advanced stuff actually. But before we do all that, we are going to have to understand what sizes. Okay, I already told you what units I'm going to use, but just so everyone's on the same page, oops, get to my drawing thing. Let me draw a rectangle, okay? So there's two ways I can talk about size. We can talk about the width and we can talk about the height, obviously. And, you know, so it's like, I don't know, let's just say, 8.5 by 11, right? That's a standard US piece of paper, US letter paper. Inches, of course, right? But that's really hard to deal with two numbers when we talk about size, okay? So instead, we're gonna use the diagonal. So when I say size, I will always be talking about, I will almost always, be talking about the diagonal, okay? Let me turn off touch because it's interfering with my drawing. Okay, there we go, touch is off. Whew. Sorry, this thing is just scrolling around like crazy. And it's just wild that it's doing that. Let me see if I can bring it under control here. It's so weird to use this. Okay. How in the world? Sorry, give me a second. There's not an easy way for me to pan this. And I guess maybe I've hit the bottom part of the OneNote. Maybe I should use touch after all. Maybe that would help me. Oh, it scrolls backwards from what I'd expect. That's why there's a little bit of confusion. That was weird. Okay. Let's see. Got some comments here. Jerry says, I like the large pen tabs. Anything smaller makes me use the wrist more, which I don't like. Yeah, I'm the same way, Jerry. Kenneth Rose, this is great. I'm torn between getting 13 to 16 inch. That's one topic, Kenneth. We will absolutely we will be discussing that in detail today. So Jerry, actually, you hit on my very next topic, which is how do manufacturers actually talk about size, right? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to switch to the right tool here. I swear to God, OneNote's killing me. It is absolutely killing me. It will not let me. I select the pencil the second I start drawing. It's like, no, you don't really want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to do something else. Let's just see. Let me try a few things here. Hang on. Sorry for the delay here. This is quite an irritation for me. I just want to make this thing smaller. Where's the smaller thing? There we go. Let's see if this will help me a little bit. Okay. It just will not let me draw. Okay, that was fun. Let me add a page and see if a new page will help. Oh, I truly hate OneNote sometimes. It suddenly just won't let me draw. OneNote. funny thing. Okay. Give me 1 second, folks, as I try to figure out what the heck this thing is trying to do. The pen works. Like I can select things, right? You can see me do that, but it just will not let me draw for some reason. Okay, what are my options for note taking? Let's see. Give me a second. Let me see if I can find an alternative. 1 moment, please. Create a new tab. I'm going to search on another window so as not to interfere with your visual presence of what's going on. Okay, let's see. I know I have a page somewhere on which note-taking things. I want to use concepts, honestly, but I feel like it's not the right one for what I'm trying to do here. But maybe that is maybe at the end something. Oh, I know, Microsoft Whiteboard. Let's see if that works. You can tell I worked at Microsoft because my first solution is always use a Microsoft product, right? Microsoft Whiteboard. Well, at least I'm more certain it will work because we've used it before on stream. Okay. While I'm doing that, let me catch up with what people are saying here. It is confusing to have 2 random numbers. It's very hard to make sense of it. Dermon said, since I've used small tablet for 6 years, jumping to medium size was fantastic, but I'm not even 3 years into the medium size, now I want to go a large tablet like Gianna. Well, you know, I will tell you this, going in for pen tablets, going up a size is safe. It is very safe. I will clarify what I mean by safe, okay? Large pen tablets are really, really nice. I think they are easier to get used to since they're closer to common monitor sizes, so there's less of a disconnect. There is a relationship between size of tablet and monitor. I'll talk about that. I did at least some research on myself. Immortal, you mean Microsoft Paint? I want Pages though, that's the thing that Paint doesn't give me. MS Paint's not, actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I have done this actually. About 2 months ago, I actually vibe coded what do you call it? I vibe coded an app that was a whiteboard app with multiple pages and everything. And I'm actually gonna, maybe in this stream, we'll live code one and create an app for us as we work. And this goes back to one of the topics I had for this video or one of the things I mentioned earlier, which is one of the fascinating things AI gives me is the ability to create an app on demand for the very task I'm doing right now, right? So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. But before we do that, let's just do a basic blank canvas here, and hopefully Microsoft, how do I full screen this thing? And there we go. Woo! Okay, and of course macOS is fighting me. It will not let me full screen this. Like I'll do it and it'll just like, no, you don't want to full screen it. I want to solve that problem, so let me do a little quick search. macOS, let me full screen Chrome. Why is that? Let's see, Command Shift F. Is this it? Ooh, wrong keyboard. Command Shift F. is so silly, the way macOS works. Okay. At least I've got something working, huh? Okay. If anyone knows how to full screen Chrome on macOS, let me know. Okay. Void outs, I use Grok for my vibe coding. And the reason I use Grok is I just wanted to try something different from Office 365 and Copilot, honestly. And the other reason is I didn't want to, how can I explain this? With Copilot, my account is linked to a certain Microsoft and what they call an MSA account, Microsoft account. But I didn't want to link it to either one of them because I want to use it in multiple scenarios. So that's why I said, oh, let me try third party. So I'm using Grok right now. I'm playing with Gemini, but I'm not paying for it. I've tried Copilot, but I haven't really liked the way it works, to be quite honest. Okay. So let us undo this change here. And what were we talking about? We were talking about sizes. Yeah, we're talking about using the diagonal sizes. So someone pointed out that in drawing tablets, you know, pen tablets, you actually see the sizes in the names, like Frago M, right? Or you see like Intuos Pro Small. So pen tablets use descriptive words, small, medium, large, etc., extra large, right? But pen displays do not, right? With pen displays, curiously, people use the actual size, the diagonal size. So for example, Cintiq 16, right? So we have numbers versus size. Of course, these are inches, right? Now, one thing I will tell you is there's two important things to understand here. These words mean nothing, okay? You cannot there is no standard definition for what small and large mean. There are tablets that are called large that are really more of a medium size, right? Never look at the name of a tablet to figure out the size. You actually have to calculate the actual, what do you call it? The actual dimensions, so get the dimensions and calculate the diagonal. And we're gonna vibe code that, okay? We're gonna vibe code it. And then the second thing you have to do, and I think there's a utility site called Compare Sizes where you can do that as well. For pen displays, the number is accurate, but as you can imagine, they round the number, and they certainly don't round it down, they round it up. So a lot of 16-inch displays are actually, guess what? 15.6 for some strange reason, right? 15.6, right? Whereas these, you know, you're gonna have to calculate the diagonal, right? You can basically believe these, and then you're gonna have to calculate these, right? And we'll do the calculation in a second. The one thing you have to realize is that people are gonna ask me, let's see if scrolling works here. Okay, it actually worked, surprisingly. Some people are gonna ask me, what about the aspect ratio? Because this kind of affect the size, right? And in pen tablets, you know, you have like 16 by 9 versus 16 by 10. These are very exaggerated, like 16 by 9, 16 by 10. They actually look closer to each other in real life. So, you know, it's okay. If something says it's 10 inches here and this is 10 inches, whatever. That's totally fine. I've actually plotted a curve of all the 200 tablets I have specs for, and the diagonal is actually it's reasonable enough. You don't get too far off, okay, even if the aspect ratios. There's some weird cases where you have like very square tablets, but those are like decades old, right? Okay, let's see what we have for the questions. Deramon, what's vibe coding? If it takes too much time, I'll just Google it, no problem. Well, Vibe coding is asking Google or whoever to create code for you. So I think of vibe coding as, in this context, sometimes you want an app that's very specific. Now, this is my use of vibe coding, because I'm asking it to create an app for me for this moment. I'll never use the app again, maybe, but that's how I use it. Because even though I know how to code, well, I'd like to think I know how to code quite well, but it's just, I don't have the time to fool around with everything all the time, okay? Especially for like little things, right? But Voidouts has a good summary there. It's funny how XPPen rounded up 18.4 to 19. Yeah, it's so typical. It's so typical. Actually, it's so often this happens that sometimes I'll measure a tablet that's 16 inches, and it's actually 16 inches, and I'm like, wow, right? That's actually amazing. Like that they actually got it correct for a change. Oh, right. Well, you're gonna see, Voidouts, you're gonna see. It would be a cool feature if you could just adjust the monitor resolution to fit the aspect ratio of a pen tab instead of the other way around. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit, Hera. We'll talk about that and what your options are, because lots of people have widescreen displays, and there are some options you have. But we'll talk about what it means. So please remind me about that, right? Okay, so let's scroll down here. And we'll talk about diagonal. Everyone knows how to calculate diagonals, right? Right. So a diagonal, this is just for the geeky, mathy people. You take the height and the width in whatever units, just use the same units. And the diagonal is, everyone knows this, the square root of the height squared plus the width squared. Okay? It's pretty simple. But we don't need to do that. We can ask AI to do this for us. And I'm going to show you, we're going to do some, again, give me a second. Let me log into my Grok account. I actually pay for something called Super Grok. And let me just, hang on a second. Let me find out where I'm at here. Jesus. I'm just clearing all my old searches or all my old coding because I've got so many. I use Grok a lot that I don't want to pollute it with all this old stuff. It's nothing salacious, folks. It's all about learning how to use JavaScript and React and Vue. And I'm actually seeing if I can use Grok and some other AIs, Google Notebook LM, to help me summarize what other tablet reviewers are saying. And maybe I'll talk about that in this stream. Maybe that might be a helpful thing for people. Ooh, there's so much here. Okay. Let us create a new, I'm going to show you what I'm doing right now so you're not like mystified by it. Okay, so Grok is here. And what we're going to do is we're going to try creating an app to help us, okay? And Gunay, don't worry, man. We're not going to do generative AI. We are just going to use AI to help us create an app to help. And I think you might find this useful. So let's see. What I want is to show you, the problem with diagonal is it's really hard to if someone tells you, oh, I've got a 10-inch pen tablet, you're like, well, how big is that? Because if you buy a monitor, they never talk about, they sometimes don't mention the diagonal. Sometimes they do. Or things with displays, you don't always get a diagonal, right? So sometimes you need the diagonal, but it's not easy to get. Or sorry, you have the diagonal, but you don't know the size, right? So what we're gonna do is create a single page, single page web app with a slider that goes from, what's a small size? 4 to 34. It represents a length in inches. And I'm just writing stuff out, okay? And then wherever the slider is, show the height and width dimensions in inches, and also show the height and width dimensions in centimeters. This is one for the Europeans. Okay, and this is an app that'll help me. And I didn't specify which aspect ratio. I should have done that. But we're just going to do 16 by 9. Okay, so look at this. This is actually really cool, right? Actually, and let me tell it which aspect ratio to do. Okay, let me close this. The aspect ratio should be to use is 16 by 9. Let's just see if it does it, right? I love this because it would have taken me like minutes even just to set up the code, but we have a tool right now, right? Is this even right? I don't even think it's. It's like it's so wrong. It's funny, right? Let's see. It's absolutely crazy. Let me put it this way: if the I think I know what the problem is. I know what the problem is. It's thinking I want the height. The slider's the height. I want to represent the diagonal. The slider should. Sorry, let me close this. You can see what I'm talking. The slider should represent the diagonal of the rectangle, not the height. No wonder it was like giving me crazy values. Again, I could write this app easily, right? But it would just take some time for me to set up my environment, and by that time, I'm not really interested in doing those things, right? Okay, so we're going to assume the math is correct, but look what it did. It actually gave me a very useful tool, right? Let me hide this on the left here. I love this, by the way. There's a little button here that says think harder. I think it's so funny. So now, if you want to know the exact size, right? What is a 4-inch tablet? You can scroll here. And again, this is 16 by 9. Actually, you know what? We're just going to say add a, what do you call it? Add radio buttons to select between 16 by 9 aspect ratio and 16 by 10 aspect ratio. Hey, Jakob, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about drawing tablet sizes. In the middle of this, we're doing a little bit of AI vibe coding. Hera, do you have to spoil my fun? Honestly, Excel? And I say this as someone who taught Excel to people in college. Okay, so now it works. So the reason I bring this up is, it's an easy way for me later in this video when we need to talk about size to talk about what size we should get, right? Because sometimes I'll need to say this is too big, but I won't have the numbers with me. Okay? Yeah, sure, I'll add that. That's a really good suggestion. Add tick marks for every inch on the slider. When I'm done with this, I'll actually take this code and make it an actual app, okay? I'll put it up on my GitHub. It's a nice little tool, right? Let's let it run here. Display Wars. Jerry, can you place the link in the chat, please, for everyone? I'd love to see that. A lot of people in the Discord are using a site called Compare Sizes, I believe, which every now and then I use, but I always forget it exists. Oh yeah, I've got a good suggestion from MemorDraw. I got to remember. Let me just reply back to him. Reply. Great idea. Great point. Great point. We'll mention in the stream. Okay, so this is just going to help us later. Okay, let's get back to the Microsoft whiteboard, right? Let me move this out of the way. Okay, so now there's an easy way for you to figure out what the width and height are, because we have to deal with this. Okay, so I'm going to bring up, how should I do it? I guess I shall use my Mac, and I will go to Gitbook. I believe I have a there's a search feature here. Let me try going home. That was weird. There should be a search feature here at the top, but it's not showing. That's really odd. Give me a second. Well, that's okay. I know it's somewhere in here, so let's go find it. All right. Maybe it's because I'm not shrinking this enough or something. I bet you that's what the reason is. No, not yet. I'm looking for sizes here. How about, here it is. Choosing the right size, okay? So this is a video from a long time ago. Let's see if I can find, there's a chart I want to show you. Yeah, I did some analysis. So basically, these charts are saying, roughly speaking, I have a few modifications of this, but these are good enough, right? So I analyzed about, 170 tablets, I think, maybe more, to figure out where they really are in terms of size, okay? And you can see how they're distributed, okay? Meaning lots of tablets are like in this range, okay? And I know you see some red sections in there. I'll explain what it means in just a minute. These are pen tablets on top and pen displays at the bottom. Okay. And it may be hard to read, but let me explain this. Lots of pen tablets, they're clustered around 7 inches diagonal and 11 to 12 inches diagonal, 15, 16, and then 23, okay? 23 is super rare. Now, what do the red ones mean here? These are small, medium, large, and extra large. Where do I come up with those numbers? Basically, my approach was to use Wacom's classification as the baseline, okay? So small for me means a 7-inch pen tablet. medium means an 11-inch pen tablet. I'm going to talk about diagonals, and large means a 15. Okay. Now notice the scale for pen displays. I think a small pen display is 13. I know some are smaller. We'll talk about those. And I think a medium is 16. And then a large for me is in the 24. You can see though there are some pen displays around 22 inches, which is of course for us quite interesting. And then there's one model out here around 32, right? Why does it say 32? There's only one of these. Why is this? Why don't they align? It's the rounding issue, right? Like the Wacom, what was it? It was the Cintiq 32. It's not, even if you round the number, it's not like bigger than 31.5 inches. So it actually rounds lower, and that's what's going on here. So you got to be a little loose with this, but you get the idea. So let's just write this up. So it's 7, 11, 15, and 23. I think I may have tweaked these numbers later, right? But that's okay. We can always modify. Pen tab size. So small equals 7, medium equals 11, and then large equals like 15. Okay? Pen display. What was it again? I gotta take a look here. 13, 16, and 24. 24, 16, and 13. Okay? These are what I consider my standard sizes for any pen tablet and pen display. And it always have to remember these myself. It doesn't come naturally to me. If I had one wish, well, I guess it would be tough. I thought about this recently. We have like the Intuos Pro. And I guess we could have the Intuos Pro, today we have the Intuos Pro large and medium and small. I suppose we could have the Intuos Pro 15 or whatever size it is. The problem with that is it will get confusing because the Intuos Pro tablets are sometimes named by year. So you would have a hard time dealing with Intuos Pro 2025 15. Like that would be head scratching. And again, what you'll see is there's a bunch of tablets that are called, I won't name them right now, that have the word large in their name, but they're really much closer to medium, right? So you always have to look at the numbers, right? You can't rely on, you cannot rely on the names. Okay, so one more thing to be totally explicit about, since we're, and I think you all know this, but I just want to make it clear, okay? And that is, we're talking about the active area. So just so everyone, we're clear, I'm not talking about the actual physical size of the tablet. I'm talking about for a pen tablet, there's a region they mark in the middle, like that. And for a pen display, it's pretty obvious. It's the actual screen, okay? Active area is just a little less clear in a pen tablet. Okay, so now, yeah, Mark Anthony, that is a fantastic point. Let me bring that comment up here. The aspect ratio can differ between tablet brands and size. In fact, that's quite true. In my research, let's talk about both cases actually. Pen tablets, and this is changing, but let me tell you the truth. And I'm gonna make fake numbers, so take that with a grain of salt, please. Something like 90%, maybe more, of pen tablets are actually 16 by 10. And actually, this is actually a bigger number. It's more like 95%. And like 5% of them are 16 by 9. Okay? It's crazy, the aspect ratio, how wild they are. Let me give you an even crazier example. If you take a look at the Intuos Pro 2017 series, large, medium, small, none of them have the same aspect ratio. One is, I think, 16 by 10. Another one is like 16 by 10.5 or something. They're all mix and match, okay? So again, just to reiterate, which I mention all the time, you gotta turn on force proportions. Oh, why did it erase like that? That was silly. Thanks, Microsoft. That was really cool. You gotta turn on force proportions. Huion and XP Pen, they call it, what do they call it? Something like screen ratio to avoid distortion. So just please remember that, okay? So that was pen tablets and the aspect ratios. Pen displays are different. Almost all of them, like almost all are 16 by 9, right? Only we have like just like, you know, a few like 1% are 16 by 10, right? And the, you know, if you see some a pen display that isn't one of these, it's like an old pen display, right? Like a Cintiq 21UX or something. So this is really where we're at with pen displays. Let's see, we have a comment. My Media UK. Hi, I like what you're doing here. I have a learning community that will love your content. That is great to hear. You know what I'd like to load? Because you said learning community. You know what? When I left Microsoft last year, I was the director of community and learning for a product of Microsoft. So I am actually genuinely interested in what your learning community is about, right? So if you could just share a few details, I would love to hear about it. Those are two things I actually am very passionate about, community and learning, believe it or not. You know, it's funny, like I said, I was director of community and learning for this product, and I called up, I had a chat with one of my former coworkers, and a couple of them actually, and I said, you know, it's so funny, I left community and learning work, which is weird for me because, you know, I'm actually like more of an engineer, let's say. I said, you two, you know, you people would be really surprised. I actually end up doing a lot of community and learning work in my retirement. So, but I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. Let's see, Maya Media UK says, it's for learning vibe coding and I'm open for collabs. Okay, we might actually do that then. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so you now know this aspect ratio thing. Okay, now let's, and again, we are talking about the active area, we're not talking about the bezels. That's completely ignoring that, okay? So let's see what's our next topic. Okay. We got the size scale. Engineers are the brains of the world. We need more brains in the world, that's for sure. Okay, I'm gonna just get my recommendations partially, okay? So let me get a new whiteboard for this because this is gonna be dangerous stuff, okay? It's gonna be dangerous stuff. Dangerous means the recommendations, you know, are gonna evolve, okay? Let me scroll here. Let's see. I thought I had a, give me a second. Let me create a new page here. I need that search feature. I'm not sure it's not appearing here. That's okay. I'm gonna get it back. But I want to say like sizes. Sorry, just give me just a minute here. Okay, I found it. I found what the page I was really looking for here. Okay. Well, let me get back to the whiteboard because I want to. Okay. New blank canvas. Okay. So this is for pen tablets. These are my recommendations for size. So Rex for, oh, that was a terrible F, for size. And why did this brush get so darn big? Can I make this a bit smaller? Who knows how that happened? Okay. Yeah, I don't need it to be that big, dudes. Okay. So, let's erase. Come on, Microsoft, quit. Sometimes people just want pop-ups everywhere. It drives me crazy. Okay. So what would I recommend? Honestly, 100% my recommendation for the vast majority of people is get a medium, right? I will say this up and down until the day I die. Get a medium, okay? Most people enjoy it, and it's really like, I think, a good balance, or even the best balance on so many factors, on cost, on ergonomics, on sort of just like convenience, on portability, on how much space it takes up on your desk. Everything about it is kind of, it works well, okay? Now, what about going small? And there's nothing wrong with going small, right? But I think if you're really doing artistic stuff, if you're really drawing, you gotta get a medium. You gotta get a medium, okay? And I know some of there are people who draw with small tablets, but okay, so for drawing with small tablets, I think what happens for a lot of people is that your hand gets, the wrist gets tight, right? There's strain. I've been using drawing tablets since like 1995, maybe 94. And small tablets just get, within just a very short amount of time, I'll start feeling pain in my wrist, okay? I'll feel tension in my forearm, pain in my wrist. I gotta stay away from small little motions, okay? So if you're drawing, I would not recommend, small is not good for drawing, okay? Small is good for some people, and we'll talk about that, okay? And this is where we get into the recommendations. So I would say, let's see, let me scroll here. Yeah, I actually have recommendations here. So one of the things I learned is there are different sort of situations people use a drawing tablet, so I'm gonna cover them all. But in general, small is the right, medium is the right answer. Let's see, Mark Anthony, 27 is the most common display now, so medium starts to feel too small. You mean a 16? Are you talking about I think you're talking about a medium pen tablet with a 27-inch display, and we'll talk about that. I think 27 and medium works well, by the way, okay? Rain says, I made the mistake of getting a small Intuos Pro. I got bad wrist pain for a couple of months. I never get. Yeah, same thing, Rain. Same thing happened to me. Okay. Now, again, before I get to this thing, I want to add one more thing, which is I need to say there is no, there's no harm getting a larger tablet, right? There's none. And some people are saying like, oh, if I get a larger tablet, I'll have to draw really large. Not true. We'll talk about that. Basically, just to give you a preview of where I'm going to go, for a pen tablet, if you get one larger than you think you need, if you feel like you want to draw smaller, and there are reasons why people want to draw smaller, you can actually in the driver adjust the active area so that you can tell, obviously you can't shrink the physical size of a pen tablet, but you can tell the driver, hey, use a smaller amount of the space for drawing. Now that'll give you actually two things. It'll give you a smaller active area, which is what you want, and you can make it almost any size. On top of it, they'll give you large bezels, right? So that's another thing to keep in mind. And maybe we'll try to do that. I'll show you an example with an actual Wacom tablet of how you do this, okay? Let's see. Mark says, yeah, display size standards are much larger today versus 50. Yes, they are. Displays have gotten big. They've gotten pretty big. I remember when I thought 24-inch monitor was huge. I couldn't believe it. And now I'm like, 24-inch, what is that? A monitor for ants? That was a Zoolander reference, by the way. But yeah, the situation with monitors changed. I remember the first LCD monitor I saw, and it was at Microsoft in like Building 18. And you know how big it was? It was like a 15-inch monitor, and we were like, going crazy at, this is like in the year, 2000 or something. And we were like, wow, this guy's got a 15-inch LCD monitor. Now, that's a laptop. That's a large laptop. Let's see, Rain says, I like 16-20-inch pen displays the most. At a certain point, it takes too much effort to move. Yeah, that is a great point. We have to talk about that. Keep that one in mind when we get to the pen displays. Okay, so if it's a starter tablet, I'd recommend medium, but small might be okay, right? Especially if budget's a constraint. We're looking at the pen tablet column. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit here. Okay, so now we're looking at drawing, sketching, painting, medium. Do not get a small. I think you should get a medium. I think you should get a large if you know you need it. We'll talk about why you would know you need it a little bit later. Now here we get to an interesting case, because remember, there's a difference between drawing and other things you're doing. What if you are not drawing? What if you are doing Photoshop editing, right? And the difference, when I think about Photoshop editing, I think about selecting things, and you're using you're burning and dodging using those tools. You're not drawing. You're not, at least in this case, you're not making strokes, right? You're just kind of maybe adjusting things in broad areas. I don't really think you need a medium-sized tablet. For ergonomic reasons, you might want it. But, I don't think you're doing this kind of back and forth with Photoshop. If you are, let me know. I know everyone's kind of different in how they use apps. But I think you can get away with small for photo editing. Okay? Now, what about note-taking? For note-taking, there's a lot of this business, right? And I have found personally that, and I'm not sure if I have enough data from people, that I do think for note-taking, you also want a medium. Because I think, again, there's a lot of wrist action with taking notes, and with a small tablet, it can feel pretty weird, right? Because small tablets, think about writing on a piece of paper as opposed to a postcard. A small tablet might feel more like a small postcard rather than a piece of paper, and I think that's going to cause some wrist pain for people. Okay. Let's see. Mark Anthony has a comment. For skin retouching, it's like digital painting, but we don't need precision. Right. That's a good point. Mark Anthony, would you agree that a small might work for like retouching? Because I don't do much. I just do a little bit of it. So I don't want to misrepresent how people would normally do that. Dermont says, I use my old small tablet for editing audio in Audacity, and it was actually quite good. Yeah. Which brings me to my next point, which is, I'm moving down one row, I'm skipping one, which is using a tablet as a mouse replacement. Lots of people use pen tablets simply to replace a mouse. Like, they are not trying to draw, they're not trying to take notes, they are just using it literally as a mouse replacement. And why are they doing this? Some people have lots of pain in their hands from using a mouse, and they are looking for ergonomic relief with a pen. Now, I gotta tell you something. Using a pen doesn't fix ergonomic problems. You can still get pain with a pen, But in general, you'll find that especially if you're not drawing, you'll get less pain, I believe, with a pen than a mouse. That's what I think is mostly true, okay? So, when you're looking at a mouse, and what are you doing with a mouse? You're clicking on buttons, and you're hovering. Hovering with the mouse is easy. You just move the mouse and you let go of the mouse, right? If you're just clicking on buttons and closing windows and resizing windows, you don't need a medium-sized tablet for that. You do not need a medium-sized tablet for that. A small, I think, will work for you. Again, for ergonomic reasons, a medium might work better, but a small works fine. And I have used a small tablet for that reason, by the way. Right? Let's see, Mark Anthony says, yes, I used a small when I was a photo retoucher and a medium on the larger screen. A 24, got it. Mark Anthony says, so small is good for a lot of menu navigation and zipping around the whole screen with less movement. Yes, that is an advantage of small. Right? Okay, so I skipped over a row. Dermont says, I think a vertical mouse and a graphic tablet almost cost the same. I don't know how much a vertical mouse costs. Are they pretty expensive, Dermont? Retouching is a bunch of small strokes with an airbrush and a lot of menu and layer navigation. Got it. Yeah, that's the sense I got. Again, I don't do it a lot. I certainly don't do it professionally, but from my experience, that's what I see people doing. They're not doing delicate things, right? And Photoshop is getting better, so you don't have to do kind of like small things, right? Okay, what about note-taking? Well, note-taking is a little special. I'll be honest, I actually do not recommend getting a pen tablet for note-taking. And the reason is, how do people take notes in the world? They write on paper, or they use an iPad, that kind of device where they're writing on a screen. I don't think pen tablets are conducive to note-taking. I know some people do it. Lots of people who are people going to college on the subreddit, they'll ask, should I get Wacom, one by Wacom or something, a pen tablet? And I'll say, I just don't think it's going to work out for you, right? I think it's going to feel very weird to draw that way. Or not draw, but to take notes that way. I think you're going to want to see what you're going to draw on. And I certainly would not recommend a pen display, because they're expensive. You're going to break them when they fall. Instead, get a device that's optimized for note-taking, and that's good at being very responsive, has low lag. iPads, Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, I think they're much better. Or they're specialized note-taking devices, like e-ink devices. Get one of those, right? Don't get a drawing tablet for that purpose. So my answer for note-taking is do not get a pen tablet. If you had to, I'd recommend a medium, if you had to. Okay, void outs. Try a left-handed vertical mouse. It's even more expensive compared to what? Interesting. I've never used a vertical mouse before. Why are they more expensive though? I mean, aren't they just mice? Okay, so let me scroll down a little more. Okay, one more case to think about for pen tablets. I think for my height, I'm 6 feet tall. I think I have medium-sized hands. I don't think they're especially large. But some people are really small. My mom's like 5'2" or something, 5'1". And some people are kids. They're small children, right? And for them, a small pen tablet will feel like a medium for us. Okay, so that's fair. For them, a small pen tablet might work. What size child, or human I should say, because not everyone is small, is an adult or a child, I don't know. But I just want to say, you can try it out. Sorry, I want to say, I could see that working, a small, honestly, right? So I'd recommend that. And now, what is my preference? My preference is large, right? Notice nowhere here in just a few places I mentioned large, but we'll talk about larges in a little bit later. So that's what I'd recommend. So I'm curious if being a lefty is expensive, Dermont. Okay, so now we covered my recommended sizes, and we can modify these, right? I just want to make sure you know about them. What about a pen display? So someone else earlier asked, we were talking about, they mentioned they're trying to make a decision between 13 inches and 16 inches. This is complex. Now, when I started this document, I actually was very anti 13 inches. I was like, no 13-inch tablet pen displays. But actually, my opinion of 13-inch pen displays has softened quite a bit, actually. And it softened because I started using things like the Move Ink. It softened because I started seeing and talking to more people who use 13-inch pen displays. So I am not anti 13-inch pen displays anymore. I will say this. I still recommend a 16-inch medium-sized pen display over a 13-inch pen display for lots of situations. Okay, you'll see that in this table. It's certainly that way for the starter tablet. 13 inches, they cost less. The primary reason I recommend the medium is pretty simple. You get more canvas space, obviously, but most importantly, with a 13-inch tablet like this one, which I'm showing upside down, if you have Clip Studio Paint up, this part will be covered by tools and palette windows, and this part will be covered by tools and palette windows, and this top part will be covered by menu system. So your canvas is smaller. Do you understand? And I'm not one who likes a lot of apps you can turn off the UI and make the canvas go full screen. I like to see the canvas with the tools, right? So that's why for me a 16-inch canvas really works better, okay? Having said that, I am drawing on a 13.3-inch canvas right now, and it's working okay. I'm not drawing. I'm whiteboarding, and it's working okay. And I see a lot of teachers do that with whiteboarding. They're using a Wacom One, 13-inch tablet, and they're doing a fine job with that. I'm doing a fine job with that right now. So again, my opinion is softened. For drawing, I would still recommend a 16. They are more expensive, so 13 is a great starting point for drawing, right? So I'm going to revise. If you look at my drawing row here, right here, I actually, in my recommendations, I say you should get a 16 and or a 24. Again, my opinion has now softened. I think 13s are actually okay. I actually think they're okay, right? Large gets into some interesting topics, and we'll get into large a bit later. But again, large is kind of like, you should get it if you know you need it. Because there's a weird feeling with large tablets. We'll talk about that later. Photo editing, 13's fine. Small tablet's fine. Or a medium 16 works great. If you're photo editing, I don't think you need a 16-inch tablet, right? It's convenient for a lot of cases. I don't think you really must have one. Let's see. Is 12 too small for a desktop pen display like the Wacom 112? Great question, and the answer is no. In fact, I have a Wacom 113 and a Wacom 112. So many times I have picked up the 12, I didn't realize it. So for whatever reason, I think 12 and 13 are so close in size, I don't even notice the difference. So 12 works fine, okay? 12 works fine. What about 10? Because there's a couple of pen displays that are 10 inches. No, I would not recommend those, right? I think a lot of other reviewers feel the same way. It's just a little too small. Maybe for a child it might work, right? But they don't cost that much less than a 13, right? Just get the 13, right? Voidat, you like, so you agree with that suggestion that the teachers that move around classrooms? Yeah, 13 is a great size. It's because it's easy to put in a backpack. It's easy to like protect with other material, and it's light, right? Oh, T.O. on Tech, we have a celebrity in chat. Hello, let's put his comment up there. I was just thinking about you in one of the comments here, because I think in your review, T.O., I think it was a Huion or an XP Pen 10-inch. You were like, it's a little too small for drawing. 13 or smaller pen displays are not ideal for apps with many UI elements. Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I don't know if you caught my earlier statement. If you're using like lots of applications have that tab switch where like, or you hit tab and they hide the UI. That works. That can compensate, but I hate working that way, right? Let's see. Tio says 10 inches are probably for those Windows tablet apps with minimal UI like sketchbooks or yeah. I could see them working okay there, right? I could see them working okay there. Okay, so 13, yeah, I think it'll work okay for photo editing. But again, to Tio's point, like if there's a lot of UI around, then it's going to be a problem, I think, for a lot of people. Note taking, same comment. I don't recommend pen displays for note taking. I think you should get like an iPad. iPad's excellent at note taking, excellent. Let's see, Christian. Between the Huion Canvas Pro 19, XP Pen Artist Pro 22, Wacom Cintiq 24 Touch. Ooh. Okay, Christian, you gotta tell me what your let me just say it up. God, it's so tough. It's so tough. It's a wonderful bag of tablets you've assembled here, Christian. But it's really tough to answer because let me bring that comment back up again. And the reason for me it's tough to answer is that they all are different in some interesting ways. Okay. I will say right now that I kind of think they're all excellent, by the way. They're all just totally fine. I have no criticism of really them in any strong way. And I like them all, and my feelings of them are very positive. I would say it depends on your needs around resolution. I think, to be honest, a lot of people will get the Cintiq 24 Touch for one simple reason. It's not that much more expensive. And it's not that much more expensive than, let's say, Huion Canvas 24 Pro 4K. And yeah, I know it isn't 4K, but at this price, with the best drawing experience in the world with the Pro Pen 3, it becomes a why not question instead of a why. So probably if someone gave me that list, honestly, I would say, yeah, just get the Wacom. Because you get the best drawing experience, right? Now, if you're resolution hungry, then I would say, okay, you might want to consider the Canvas Pro 19. If, on the other hand, you want the best bang for the buck, Artist Pro 22 Gen 2, fantastic. So yeah, it's a challenging set of tablets you listed, but thank you. Okay. Let's see, Dermond, I think 10-inch tablets are more for standalone Android or iPad OS. The UI is made for that. I don't know what you mean. You mean like, are you saying displays themselves, like literally the display panel? Or do you mean that you'd plug them into one of these devices? Let's see, Harris says the Cintiq 24 softness is a bit annoying if you need sharp lines, like for vectoring. You think this panel is soft? I'll have to go look through. I'll look at that again, Hera. I can't remember thinking it was soft. Maybe slightly. Yeah, I just can't remember. I'll have to look at my notes. But thank you for bringing that up. Okay, pen displays for mouse replacement. I think this is an NA. Meaning, if someone wants a mouse replacement, I wouldn't steer them to a pen display. Like that's a weird change, right? It's just weird. For children, I think a small 13-inch works, right? Again, as long as you can deal with like the UI element issue, you have to make sure of that. But in terms of like drawing, it'll work fine, right? Christian saying, I asked because I want to get serious in animation 3D work and possibly graphic design. Just get the Wacom. Just get the Wacom. Listen, I think it's a safe choice. I think it's the easy choice. And I think that, no one in the industry, whatever industry you're in, if you walk in with a Wacom tablet, will ever look at you weird, right? So it's a safe choice in that sense. Hera, the ones in my store have had screen protectors, but I remember the two I tried feeling a bit soft. Okay, you like really sharp, well-delineated pixels. I'll double check mine. I'll double check mine, and I'll compare it to the Huion Canvas Pro 19, which also has a kind of a softness to its pixels. Let's see, Kenneth Ross. For context, I use a Wacom comic into a small pen tablet, and I want to transition to a display. I'm still relatively new at doing digital art, as I've always done art. Okay, you're transitioning. That's fantastic. Just, you know what? Let me send you a link, though. I would like you to read it, Kenneth Ross, because it is I always want to make sure people have the right expectations about pen tablets versus pen displays. Give me a second. Let me find the link here. Copy. Okay, Kenneth Ross, I am pasting it in. Oops, that wasn't paste. I think this is paste. Okay. So this is a document I wrote called Pen Tablets versus Pen Displays. Take a look at it. And I'm not trying to steer you in either direction. I just want you to be prepared for what pen displays are like. And also because there's a ton of people, I assure you, who use pen tablets and they get a pen display and like literally that day or a week later, they're like, I don't like pen displays. And there are reasons for that. And I just want you to know the reasons, right? And so this document talks about that. Okay, dear Mond, let's see. Oh, like 10 inches pen displays doesn't look good because of the UI. So 10 to 11 for standalone works great, right? But for pen displays, I would not do that. I would not do that, right? I think the smallest you ever want to go with the pen display is really 12 inches, right? Preferably 13. Okay, now what do I use? So this, of course, you know, I forgot the counter tablet. I think I have 107 tablets, something like that. It's 100 something. I have 100 tablets. I think I have 25 or 30 pen displays. So I have some experience with pen displays. So what do I like drawing on? Okay, so again, situations change, my moods change, but overall for me, the best balance for me has been a 22-inch pen display. So it's in the large category, but sort of like, I don't know, sub-large, right? And why? And we'll talk about why a little bit later, but that works best for me. To me, I'll be honest, 16 inches feels too small. I feel a little constrained with 16 inches. Even 19 inches, while kind of convenient when I'm doing like whiteboarding for you, it's like just at the boundary of what I like, right? To me, a 19-inch feels more like a 16-inch than a 22-inch, okay? You wouldn't know that by the number, but it definitely feels more like a 16-inch. So yeah, my favorite's a 22-inch. 24-inch is actually a little bit too large for me, okay? And 27's, and I have one, I have the Cintiq Pro 27. It's crazy. It's crazy. And we'll talk about later in the stream the issues with getting large pen tablets. Because people, I don't think, if you've never had one, you won't know like how crazy it is to have a large one, right? I wish I tried a 32-inch one, right? But I never did want to get one. I don't want to get one now because it's just too big to deal with. Okay. So let me scroll down, see if there's anything else here I want to talk about before I get back into, yeah. Okay, one other thing, I'm gonna add this in my online tool to compare sizes, but I just want you to be appreciative of it, is lots of people come to me, or they come into the subreddit, the drawing tablet subreddits, and they say, well, I want something that's close to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, right? Or an ISO, A4 paper or something like that, or US Legal or something. And so what I did was in this page, and you know what? I just realized I'll link the page to you in a second. Give me a second. It's called Choosing the Right Tablet Size. And as always, I recommend you join the Discord Remember, all we do is talk about tablets all day, every day. So it's the place to be if you want detailed discussions. And when Reddit finally dies, who knows? We're going to be like the last bastion of hope for drawing tablets. The drawing tablet subreddit, I mean. Okay, so for here, these different paper sizes, I've calculated the diagonal, and you can kind of compare them to my standard sizes on the left, right? So the standard sizes are right here. Oops, mouse is somewhere else. Here are the standard sizes. And you can see the 7-inch small pen tablet, it's like an A6 ISO paper. And you can just compare them, right? And I'm just doing this so it'll help people. Another tip I have, okay, let me get a prop. It'll take me like 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've got my props with me. So, here's a very common question. Okay? You want to know how, you're thinking about changing sizes or if a certain size is right for you. And it's like, how do you know the size is going to work for you since you don't have a tablet or you don't have that tablet? And it's hard to just read numbers, even diagonal sizes, and figure out if it's going to work for you. So I've got a solution. It's a cheap solution. It's the power of paper and pen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll introduce you to the Wacom Intuos Pro Medium. Okay? So what I'd recommend you to do is take a piece of cardboard and cut out, find the dimensions of the tablet and cut it out into a piece of cardboard. Find the dimensions of the active area, mark it up. And in this case, I actually put the numbers for the height and the width and diagonal, and the tablet name, and the aspect ratio, right? And I did this for a couple of reasons. I want to demonstrate you can actually think about drawing, think about what it would feel like to draw in this space. Or if your screen was there, how big the menus would be, right? It looks real to you, Dearmont? And this will give you a feel for it. Now for a pen tablet, this is, maybe it's a little bit interesting, right? Intuos 2045. But sometimes, it's kind of interesting because you can, here's, for example, take a look. This is the Intuos Pro Large, 2025 Large, and the Intuos 2017 Medium. And you can see they're actually not really that different in physical size so much, right? They're very close. right? Here's another one, right? What would an abstract, this is like a generic template, like here's a generic 13 or 11-inch tablet. Not that I know there is an 11-inch tablet, but like I want to be able to compare sizes, right? And here's a generic 16-inch tablet. We can compare the sizes. Is that the regular cardboard or the Pro version, Albert? So you can see already that a Intuos Pro 2025 large is really about the size of 16, sorry, I have a 13-inch in there as well. It's about the size of a 16-inch tablet, right? A pen display. So I'd recommend doing this, and it's especially important for a pen display, right? So let's talk a little bit about some unique elements of using a pen display. Now we're talking about size and just a few other things. I just want people to understand, right? Rain, yeah, let's clarify. Okay, so so if you compare the 2025 to the 2017 series, the 2025, let's compare medium to medium, okay? Large to large, small to small. The 2025 have larger active areas, noticeably larger active areas, than the 2017, okay? And they're actually even better than that when you account for the fact that you have to use force proportions with the 2017. In one case, one of the new Intuos 2025 effectively gives you 30% more area to draw in than the old version. So you get more space to draw on. But they shrank the bezels. So the devices are actually smaller, right? And I wish I had created a comparison of, we can do medium for medium or large for large, but I didn't do that. But yeah, they're physically smaller, but you have more space to draw on, okay? But they're definitely physically smaller. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about the size of pen displays, just the things that aren't obvious, okay? Let me get back to the whiteboard, because we need to talk about a whiteboard here. Okay, so some things that people don't really predict with a pen display, right? So number one, this, I would never have believed it, until I first got it. Pen displays are in your, oops, you can't see what I'm doing. They're in your dreams? No. They're in your face. Okay? People may not get this because they've been, in front, on their desk, they have like a 24-inch or 27-inch or 32-inch pen display, monitor, right? And then you tell them, hey, I think you should get a 22-inch pen display or whatever, or 19. And they're like, why do they want such a small thing? Well, the thing is your monitor is far away from you may not be able to even reach your monitor with your hand. My monitors which right now I'm using are 4 feet away from me. I cannot reach them, okay? And they're 32 inches. Pen displays, by definition, for you to use them, they have to be within your arm's distance. Not only that, but they have to be well within your arm distance. I'm just gonna guess here. They have to be like half your arm distance, practically, okay? So you can reach all the corners and stuff, right? And when you have this, even a 24-inch pen display right up against your face is like a massive field of pixels hitting you with light. And so that size has all sorts of impacts. They generate heat, some more than others. They have bezels which are typically a bit bigger than you'd expect for a monitor. So they're actually even bigger in front of you in terms of physical blocking size. And it can make it hard to even reach around. Let's say you have something has fallen behind there, a cable or your mouse, or you need to put something in a USB, like a hard drive into your dock or something. It gets increasingly hard to reach, right? Perfect example, Cintiq Pro 27. 27 inches doesn't sound like a big deal for a monitor. But up in your face, it's like this gigantic monolith, right? So you got to take that into account, how big they are in front of you, and like how much light is coming at you. That's another reason why I think a lot of pen displays don't need to be so bright, because they're right in your face, right? Let's see, Rain has another comment. I guess there's some individual factors, like some people have smaller hands or generally small. That's exactly right, Rain. That's exactly right. Okay, so they're in your face, they're large, they're bright, they may be too bright, they may be a bit warm, and they take up so much desk space. You just don't realize it unless you bring it in front of your face. That's why I think the cardboard idea is kind of interesting. Because now, of course, with a small pen display, you can just kind of leave it on your desk at an angle or something. But for a 22-inch pen display or larger, you're going to have to really prop it up a bit at an angle and bring it close to you. Okay? So just be aware of that. And it's a weird feeling. At a certain point, a pen display gets large enough that effectively it takes over your desk. Like definitely a 27-inch pen display, like it takes over your workspace. It's almost like you need a dedicated desk for that, right? So you gotta keep all these things in mind, right? Let's see. I think that's one thing. What's another thing with the large pen displays? Oh yeah. Okay, so hang on a second. Number two, because they're closer to your face, you will definitely, I think you're more likely to notice pixelation. Meaning if the pixel density is a little lower, you might notice it. May not bother you, but you're definitely, you're gonna see it. So be prepared for that. When a monitor is like, 3 feet from you, like you may not notice the pixels because everything blurs together. But up close, you'll notice these things, right? Number 3. So, some of you have probably noticed I have gray hair, okay? I guess if I had hair up here, it would also be gray, but definitely you can see it on my chin. As you get older, something happens to your eyes. I forgot the exact name. It's like presbyopia or something. Basically, it literally means old eyes or old sight or something like that. And what happens is, if I understand it correctly, your lens in your eye gets less flexible. Okay, and what that means is, I'm nearsighted, right? So I can see things very close up. But as you can't flex your lens as much as you get older, it gets harder to read something close. I used to be able to read something like literally almost up like at my eyelashes. Now, if I read a menu, like in a restaurant, I can't read it like, either I have to take off my glasses or I have to leave my glasses on and put the menu out like this, okay? So the reason I say that is as you get older, this is gonna affect you because lots of pen displays for me, I want to bring them up close, but if I bring them up close with my glasses, I can't, they're blurry. If I take off my glasses, I have to get in really close to it. So it's weird for me with the pen display, okay? So you have to be aware of that. Let's see, Darren One says, as you get older, yeah, it happened when you turned 21. That's an early age for it, right? But, actually, let me look up the actual word. It's presbyopia, I think. Yeah, presbyopia. Right? Trust me, like it's a weird feel. This is one of the reasons I do not use pen displays. Okay? So it gets harder to focus. Harder to focus on something close. Another thing, this is just maybe it's me, maybe it's other people. It causes me some eye strain. Forget whether it focuses or not. I feel like my eyes kind of hurt a little bit. They're working too hard, I would guess, to focus, or trying to focus on something close. Right? Now, I'm totally fine if I take off my eyeglasses. Okay? Now, maybe at some point even that won't work. Like I can read my iPad pretty close, like here, right? Or, yeah, here. Maybe like 5 inches away. But, you know, you can't take off your eyeglasses and see your keyboard easily. So, like, it's a kind of a mess, right? So I just want you to keep that in mind. It's gonna change for you sometimes, right? Trust me, I don't want to have presbyopia either, but it's a real thing, and I believe the incidence of presbyopia is like, I want to say it's like 90% of people get it. So, yeah, unfortunately, and by the way, it's uncurable. It's just the part and parcel of being human, right? Okay, so those are some things about a pen display that you should take into account, okay? Oh, sorry, number four is the weight. I know this seems kind of like silly to talk about weight, we're really talking about display size, but here's what happens. As you get a pen display, they get heavier, right? This is one reason I want really thin pen displays. They're really chunky for some strange reason. And the pen displays they're thick and they're heavy. And at a certain point, your pen display is not convenient to move, right? Let's take this Wacom moving for a second. One of the things I like about it is because it's so darn light, it's like you can just move it anywhere. You don't, like, it's no work. It's a triviality to move. But as you start getting, you know, past 16 inches, it becomes real work. I can move this Move Ink. Literally, I can hold this Move Ink with my thumb and one finger, okay? That's how light it is. With a 13-inch pen display, probably I need my hand, okay? But I can do it with one hand. With 16-inch pen displays, which is there's one right in front of me. This is the 16, okay? You can even tell from the gritting of my teeth. Holding it with one hand is like, and this is a somewhat light pen display actually. It's strain. Like I wouldn't want to hold this for a few minutes longer. It's hurting actually even now. And so as you start getting this weight, you start like you don't want to move the tablet because it's work. It's real work to move this tablet. Once you get into 20 inches and 22 inches, like you can't even do it from seated. You're gonna have to get up, get it with both hands, and move it. And by the way, they're so big. You have to create space to move them. So they're not for situations where you need to rearrange your desk, right? So you got to keep all that in mind, right? Cardboard would help you understand the size, but the weight is another problem, okay? And I just want you to keep it in mind because it's related to the size so much. Let's see, Deramond, the weight and size are very important to me. On my room, I don't have much space. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. So, you know, I got the Cintiq Pro 27 back in November, December 2022. It's a great tablet. I mean, it's the best tablet pen display out there, along with the other Cintiq Pros. But my gosh, like, it just takes over your desk. And the stand is heavy that it comes with, or that you have to buy for it. Like, you can't, I had to reserve a desk for it, okay? With pen tablets, by the way, this problem is very different. Like, all pen tablets none of them weigh much. The only pen tablet that weighs a lot is an extra large one. They haven't been sold since 2013. That's the Intuos 4 XL. That takes over your desk, okay? And it is heavy enough that you need two hands, right? But a 16-inch, a large pen tablet, let me find, I actually have one here. Well, this is almost a large pen tablet. Actually, guess what? I have an Intuos Pro Large here. This is obviously cardboard, but like the actual tablet's not very heavy, right? You can easily just toss it around. So I just want to keep that in mind. There's some other issues that aren't just, is the display big? Keep the ergonomics of it, or I don't know how to say it, how it affects your desk and workspace. Keep it in mind. Voidout says, same with me, Dermond. I'll probably stick with medium tablets. Medium's a great place to be, right? Okay, so let me scroll down and let's see what other things I want to say. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about, how can I say this? Okay, so we're going to talk about pen tablets and what size you should get. And, I recommend medium. I'm very clear on that topic. But there's a special thing with pen displays, the active area is the same size as the screen, obviously, right? With pen tablets, the active area and the screen are two different devices, because the screen is your monitor and the active area is your tablet. So the first thing that happens is there's a discrepancy. And I did some research on this, and I can't say it applies to everyone, but I can tell you what works for me. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to bring up another slide deck. Okay, give me a minute to figure out where the other. Let's see. It was. Maybe I made that one in 2022 or 2023. That's weird. Give me a sec. Oh yeah, it was in 2020. Oh, I see. I put them in the. This is the deepest I've gone on this topic, by the way. So I'm just waiting for the NAS, to get online here. As I'm rocking out to this jazz music. Come on. Sorry, I'm just waiting for this presentation to come up. So while it's coming up, I want to explain what it's about. So I have found for myself, for the situation where I have a pen tablet and a monitor, there is a relationship between the size of the monitor and the size of the pen tablet. Okay? I can't say this relationship applies to everybody, but it definitely applies to me, and at the very least, I think you could use it to figure out what you like, okay? So I want to show you what I found for me. Okay, RF Dale, whenever I see artists set up that puts the largest display tablet to the side of the main monitor, I can't help but feel secondhand neck pain to look at a setup. Interesting. Okay, I think we're almost there. Finally, the NAS kicked in. Okay, let me copy this presentation and paste it in here, and let me open it. Okay, so I'm going to show it to you now. Okay, so this is the presentation, and this question is, so you can apply this either way, right? Which is, you have a pen tablet, which monitor size works best with it if you're trying to buy a monitor, or if you have a monitor, which pen tablet size you should get, okay? So we're gonna explore this topic, and we're gonna explore how I went through it and thought about it. So again, we're talking about pen tablets, obviously. So this is all familiar stuff, you guys know this. I'm gonna tell you my recommendations based on what I think would work well, okay? Some of you are going to disagree, and that's okay. And I want you to tell me where you disagree. And in the chat, put it in the chat, or tell me where it works. And specifically, I'm talking about using a pen tablet with an external monitor. The situation is a little different if you have a laptop, right? Because your laptop has a finite range a small range of sizes. Okay, So what I found, roughly speaking, is that with a small pen tablet, when I was drawing, which I don't enjoy drawing on a small pen tablet, anything from 20 to 25 inches worked okay. Like I was like, it felt good. I would say good, okay? If it's a medium pen tablet, 11 inches, then 20 to 30 inches work great. So someone earlier said medium, would a medium 27-inch work? I go, yeah, I think for me that works really good. Like I liked it most of all. Large, so 15 or 16, 30 to 40 inches. By the way, I tried all these combinations, and many more actually. Extra large, that's an Intuos 4 XL, a 40 or 50 inches. Okay, that's how I got there. That's my end result. I'll tell you how I got there. So I had all these monitors, okay? 24, 27, 32, 43, 50. And I had these pen tablets, right? 7-inch, 11-inch, 15-inch, 22-inch. And so I have all these combinations. I tried every combination for a week, okay? Every combination. So I was drawing one drawing a day with Clip Studio Paint, right? I don't know how much time it was. I can't remember. So here's my raw data, just so everyone sees. If it's gray, I was like, I didn't care. I had no strong opinion. If it's orange, I didn't like that combination. If it's green, I liked it. If it's dark green, I really liked it. So you can see there's already a pattern emerging, okay? There is some numerical pattern. You can see it because it's growing diagonally in this chart, okay? Because every cell is a combo. For example, let's look at the bottom row. The one by Wacom Small is about 7 inches. And where did I find it worked best? With a 24-inch monitor. The Intuos Pro Medium is a medium-sized tablet, obviously, 10 inches. It worked good in multiple monitors, but the best for me was 27-inch, okay? So this is my data I collected, 1 week for each cell. So it took me many months, actually, right? And what I realized is when you take a look at the sizes here versus the sizes of the active area of the pen tablets and the sizes of the actual display, for me, please remember, this is for me, I found that if you think about how in inches, whatever inches the pen tablet was, like basically the monitor had to be around twice as big for me to feel like that was the best combo. Does that make sense? So I plotted this out on a scale, right? And you can see like the number on top is the ratio, okay? So you can see the ratio, which is monitor size to tablet size. When the monitor is twice as big as the tablet, it starts feeling good to me. All the way up to 3.5 times the size of the tablet's active area, okay? Below that, wasn't so happy. Above that, wasn't so happy. This area was good for me, especially about 2.5, okay? For me, right? So I did some extra math, blah, blah, blah. And this is how I got this is my simplified version of that. That's how I came up with this set, okay? Some of you, again, I'm sure, have had different experiences. But I said this is what I like. One of the key things where I didn't really, I think this case that my table does not account for is when you're drawing with the laptops. And laptops are between, 13 inches to, basically 16 inches in terms of diagonal size for their screens. Then I would just get a medium for that, honestly. Remember, I still recommend medium, but the small works if you're doing certain kinds of things, right? So this is what I think. Again, for laptops it's different, but if you're doing with a normal desktop and your monitor is over there, this is what works for me, okay? Now, this is just my aspect ratio thing. Let me skip that. Oh, and then the other question is how far is the monitor, right? We can go in this very briefly. So basically, if you think about how far your monitor is from your eyes and how wide the angle is formed by your eye to the monitor, that angle is, in, arctangent, the width of the monitor divided by twice the distance times 360 degrees divided by pi. So that, anyway, what this means is I wanted to see if there's a relationship with the angular size, right? And I found a couple of things here, right? Let me just skip ahead. It's kind of weird to see, but this was the different angular sizes that worked for me, right? If they occupied between 30 degrees to 57 degrees, right, of my field of view. So that's what worked well for me, right? I know it's a little bit mathy, but you get the idea, right? So this is my general size recommendations, and use this as a guide. Don't take it as like, this is the way it must be. Think about it. Experiment, right? I wish I had done that before I bought my first pen display, because I think I would have realized I didn't like, sorry, I'm talking about pen tablets. I wish I had done this, because sometimes I got a tablet that was not, too big for my monitor, and it felt weird. There's some things we can do for that. But it was really bad when it's a small pen tablet for a big monitor. That feels real weird. Because if you move an inch on the tablet, it's like moving 4 inches on the display. And that's just like, something about that is weird. For me. Okay, Dearmon says, normally I use a 13-inch display for my laptop and a 23-inch on my PC. On the 23, I have to do a force proportion. Yeah, you should always just enable force proportions for pen tablets. There's a direct correlation, Adam West. There's a direct correlation between the decline of spirograph. Do spirographs still exist in the modern world? And the rise of gang activity. I can believe it. I believe it. Kenneth says, your article and stream are very informative and well put together. I've been able to solve my dilemma of 13 or 16 inches. Okay, which one did you go for, Kenneth? Where's your head at right now? I'm guessing 16, but I'd like you to say. Right? And again, my analysis is for drawing, not for note-taking or something else. This is for drawing, okay? So, okay, that was my presentation there. Okay, let's get back to the other topics around size, right? Okay, so I want to talk about this weird topic around, I said it was kind of safe. Let me start a new whiteboard here. Give me a second. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you're seeing what I'm seeing. So I said kind of like for pen tablets, it's kind of like okay / safe to get a larger tablet. Okay, and I want to tell you why. Okay, and that is with a pen tablet, because the screen, which is your monitor, and the tablet's active area they're not the same, you can control how much of the active area is used. And I'm going to show you a demonstration of that, okay? So I'm going to, this is something that's really for pen tablets, not for pen displays. And I don't think I've done this live. So give me a minute. I'm going to have to plug in, I have to move things around a little bit. Okay, let me go get a real tablet, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And I got two tablets with me. Of course, these are black plastic, so it's hard to see. Okay. Uh, the one in the back is the Intuos Pro 2025 large. The one in front is the Intuos Pro 2025 medium. And I just picked these because they're different sizes, right? And you can just see how they work. And we're going to talk about what happens when you, maybe for whatever reason, you've been using something medium sized, but you decided to get a large, but you're scared because you're like, whoa, it feels weird to use a large tablet, okay? So we're going to deal with that topic, but let us spend a minute, now that I think about it. Let me move this somewhere where it's not going to fall. Oh, I don't know where to put these actually. Oh, here we go. I want to talk about the problems of large tablets, right? The hidden problems, and it really has to deal with gestures. Or not, no, it's negative to talk about that way. It'd be better to talk about the pros and cons of, why you want a large size, meaning large, not specifically large, just what are the better, I'm just ranting. I want to talk about why sometimes getting a larger tablet is helpful and why sometimes it's not helpful, okay? So, okay, here we go. Let's project. There we go. Okay. So, for the size, picking size. Sorry, looks like pitching size. Picking size. One big consideration is your gesture size. Okay? So does everyone, I think you probably know what I mean by gesture, so I'll just say, I'll do a little demonstration, okay? So let me see if I can find concepts or something, because I do want to use an actual normal painting app for this one. Let's see, not concave. Hang on. Concepts. It's concepts. Oh, I can't even remember if it's actually on the Mac. On the Mac. How about? Do I have clip on here? I should have clip. Yeah, I can use that. Okay, let's move clip over here. Why is it not moving over? Oh, I don't have the display set up correctly. Hang on. Displays. Let's see. Extended. That's weird then. Why wasn't it moving over? Maybe they're not arranged correctly. That is weird. I'm not sure why I'm having trouble getting clip over. It's almost like it's on my Mac window, but I can't drag it over. It's kind of wild. Let's see if I can convince it to do it some other way. Oh, okay, that was strange. Come on, clip. Get over there. Oh, I know what the problem is. I always forget Macs are like this. When you have a maximized window, it can kind of like prevent other things from moving into space. Okay, got it. So let's do a new, now I'm set here. You guys can see, okay, here we go. Let me create a new document here. The dialog came on the other window, so you can't see it. So let me click, there we go, now we have a document. Okay, so this is just for illustration's sake, and I'm actually going to use the overhead view for this, just so it is clear for you what's going on. For those of you, you're noticing some black sort of dimmer bars. I think it's related to what do they call that? PWM, pulse width modulation or something? PWM flicker. Let me zoom this thing out a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to disable touch because I know it's going to interfere with me right now. Okay. So, gesture size is how you move your pen with your arm or your wrist or your elbow. Okay? I'm going to tell you, a lot of people, and I know this, I'll show you the evidence if I can find it. A lot of people do this business. What do you notice here? Okay? My wrist, my elbow is not moving. My shoulder, you can see on this, on the camera, my shoulder's not moving, my body's still. What is moving? My wrist is barely moving. It's actually my fingers and my wrist, right? And this used to be me. I mean, it still is me in a lot of ways. I'm a wrist drawer, right? I'm a recovering wrist drawer. This is one reason I think I feel a lot of stress with small tablet sizes, okay? So, gesture size was our topic, and I make these kind of gestures, okay? Now, there are reasons why you don't want to do this. There are reasons why you want to draw like this. Notice my elbow is actually moving, okay? I'm actually moving my elbow. That has the benefit of often stabilizing curves. I'll give you an example just so everyone's on the same page here. Here's me wristing it. I'm going to try to do a curve. Okay. Now, it probably looks okay here, but I can tell from the screen itself. And let me just move this a little bit over here. Okay. That you might not see it in the camera, but actually, if I do it, with my entire arm, not just fast, but with my arm, it's actually a little smoother. Again, you cannot maybe see my elbow, but I am actually moving more my arm. So that's a technique, okay? If you draw like this, where you're moving your arm more, you need a larger size. You definitely need a larger size, okay? Conversely, if you're a wrist drawer, you might discover you don't use your tablet size, okay? So you gotta kind of think about matching that up, and that's why getting a piece of cardboard and drawing, right? Drawing the size of a tablet on there might help you realize. If you go to eBay, you're gonna see a lot, and I mean a lot, of used pen displays. And you'll notice something really funny on a whole bunch of them. There are scratches right here. And it's seemingly, there are only scratches here. Okay, in the middle. And you'd be surprised, because you can see these, and I'm not complaining about the scratches. What I'm saying is, that is evidence of where people are spending their time. Lots of people are wrist drawers, but are using pretty big screens. I'm not saying they're wrong for that. There are other advantages besides gesture size for using a larger screen or a larger tablet. But you should realize that in some sense, they may not be getting the full use of their tablet. So think about that relationship of gesture size, how you draw to getting a bigger tablet. You might even want to start evolving how you draw. When I got my first large pen tablet, I realized I was only sticking to the middle. I was doing this business. I actually had to, especially with the extra large one, I had to train myself to draw like that. I have to remind myself, right? And I found even that I had to get, the monitor size affected me. If I saw things big, like I drew with my Excel tablet in 2S4 Excel, I had, if I used a 43 or 50-inch monitor, that would somehow psychologically convince me to move my arm more for some reason, right? But when I was on a smaller monitor, I wouldn't do it for some strange reason, right? Another thing is to force myself to draw with bigger gestures, I would change the zoom. So lots of people you'll find they intuitively, they change the zoom just so that their short little strokes work. But I would zoom in more so that I have to make a long stroke. So just as an example, as an exaggeration, you might draw someone's eye like this, right? Kind of an oval with a thing. I would actually zoom in so that I have to draw it like this, right? A big oval with a circle in the middle for the pupil and the iris. So that isn't, you have to train yourself a little bit, and you have to keep that in mind, right? Just because you have a bigger tablet doesn't mean you're going to use the space, okay? So that's one thing about your gesture size. There's another thing that people, I don't think, often talk about, which is, actually, let me get back to my, how do I do this? I want to just minimize this window. Hello. Okay. Oops. Did I close that? I can't believe I just did that. Okay. Microsoft Whiteboard. We'll get back there. Okay, let me check if there are any questions. I don't see any questions up right now, so let me get back to the whiteboard. Oh, I turned off touch. Oops. Open a whiteboard, okay. You guys are pretty quiet now. Okay, so the point I was trying to make is, number one was gesture size, okay? You have to think about this. And how it relates, how you're using the size, and if your tablet's gonna help you, if you have to train yourself to use the extra size. I don't want you to get a large tablet and it won't instantaneously make you draw better. You have to train yourself to use a larger size, okay? That's something to keep in mind. So, like, you have to do a little bit of training, or retraining, I should say, right? And I have some techniques for that. Number two is travel distance. Okay, I don't have anything that's like 24 inches across, so you're just gonna have to pretend, okay? Or I can just do it maybe kind of visually. Okay, before I do this, I need some water. Again, let me just double check the Discord to make sure nothing has gone crazy. Yeah, no one's, okay, great. Okay, so this is something that I started using a large, extra large pen tablet, the Intuos 4 XL, which is like 22 inches, right? And I wanted to keep in mind, I always have to give my size to help make this make sense. Remember, I'm 6 feet tall, and my arms are a little bit, they're a little bit longer for someone who's 6 feet tall. So, when I'm, lots of shirts don't go quite as far down as I'd like, okay? So it's rare when I find a shirt that sort of like covers the wrist the way I like, okay? Especially when I'm wearing a suit. So, and the reason I tell you that, it's gonna matter in just a second. When I had this large pen display, it was so large, what you realize is, and I'm gonna put my hand up, and you have to almost pretend like the screen is the pen display, okay? Oh, sorry, the pen tablet. So the screen that you're seeing is the pen tablet, and I want you to imagine what it feels like to me, okay? I have to reach all the way over here, right, with a 22-inch tablet to get to the close, you can close a window in Windows in the upper right-hand corner. That is up, for me, it's up here, because I'm going to my right. And to go to the File menu is like over here. And to click on the Edit menu is up here. And like, can you imagine drawing and doing this, changing layers, and just do it like it starts to hurt, and it's hard for me to even reach. And so this large pen tablet, and of course a 22-inch pen display, you can't use them laying on the desk because you cannot reach that distance, right? You have to tilt them, you have to rotate them so they're within your arm's length. Even then, your arm will have trouble reaching to the corners, right? Lots of people, I think, who are smaller or have smaller arms, you should keep that in mind. Like, you're going to be doing real work and you're going to be reaching, and reaching is real strain, okay? Now, I think this really applies to larger things. So 16 inches probably you wouldn't even notice, but as you start getting to 22 inches, you'll start to notice, okay? So especially if you're smaller, but everyone should try it. Again, cut out a piece of cardboard, tilt it, see if you can reach all the corners, and imagine clicking a bunch of menu items. Because trust me, they call this gorilla arm. It feels like, it's hard, it hurts after a period of time. And I mean like minute. Let's see, Rain, do you find you are able to draw with your arm on something like a moving pad, or does it encourage you to use your wrist? I can draw on the moving pad. I will say, I think you've got something there when you say, does it encourage you to use your wrist? Yeah. And this is my background. I wasn't formally trained in anything. And so I tend to fall back to wrist drawing. And smaller screens, I think, do push me toward wrist drawing, which is not bad in and of itself, but I always feel like I'm not getting the smooth strokes I want. I'm certainly not using the tablet to its fullest, right? But yeah, I respond to the size, right? I respond to the size of the pen tablet. I respond to the size of the pen display, and the and the relationship between a monitor and a pen tablet. So it's something I have to monitor as I'm using a larger pen tablet. I think about it all the time, like, man, why did I draw that stroke with a flick of the wrist? And sometimes I'll actually undo, zoom in, and draw with a bigger stroke because I'm trying to punish myself. I sound insane. I'm trying to punish myself for drawing incorrectly, okay? That absolutely sounded insane. But I hope you, at least in the spirit of it, you can understand what I'm trying to get across, right? Just getting a larger size requires training. It requires some deliberation about what it's really going to be like to have it in front of you and how you're going to have to reach, what it'll feel like to do all sorts of little things, okay? So if you're going to take that piece of cardboard, simulate in some sense what it would be like to use your applications, and you'll be surprised. Like, you'll have to go back and forth, right, on different layer menus here, or this is menu here. You need to understand that feeling. So using the tablet to the fullest, does that mean you should be drawing on the whole display instead of a smaller section? I don't think you have to. But part of the benefit of having a large display is that it lets you, the theoretic benefit of having a larger display is that now you can draw actually better strokes, right? And let me see if I get an easier way to put it. Think about it like this, right? I think if I remember correctly, when I was young, I read about how Marvel comics were made, right? Back when they had actual ink and pencilers and things. I don't know if they have that. I think it's all digital. But back then, comics are like this size, right? Moving size, okay? But the way they drew the comic is they drew it on a large sheet of paper, which is like, huge. And it was like this big, right? And they did some kind of photo reduction process to shrink it down to that size. Now, why do they draw it that big? And if I understand correctly, it made it easier. It made certain things easier, right? So I think it's possible to get better results if you're drawing big and then shrink down, sort of digitally, right? And so there's advantages to learning how to use that space. If you buy a pen tablet and you're not using the full space, why did you buy the pen tablet, right? I mean, a larger, why did you do that? So if you take a look, most people are just drawing And I don't want to criticize them for that, right? Because there are other reasons you want the size for palettes and things. There's a natural behavior that people zoom into just the wrist area, that they have, of course, palettes on the right. So you wouldn't expect someone to evenly use their entire tablet active area. But I think it's something to be cognizant of, I think. And certainly for smoother lines, use as much as possible. There's a document I wrote on my website called How to Draw Smooth Strokes. Give me a second. You know, I always keep these links around and I send them to you all. So it's some guidance I have on smooth strokes. And drawing with big strokes and zooming in the right way is a big part of it. So give me a second. Let's get there. Smooth, what's it called? Smooth lines? Smooth strokes. Drawing smooth strokes by 7 pens. Copy. And then paste. Take a look at this this document, Rain, and give it a glance and just, you know, tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. Okay. So, that was the gesture size. Travel distance, a huge thing. Let's see. Okay, our next is, what if you get a tablet that's big? You know, this is where was I? I was in this example. Like, and the reason I talked about the arm movements was actually because of this example. Because for whatever reason you thought bigger is better, and you got the large, okay? Remember, I recommend large pen tablets for people who have experience drawing large, who are used to a large gesture size. Maybe you came from the traditional art world. So for you, you know, drawing small feels weird and you're trained not to do it, right? So that's why I recommend large for special people, not special people, for certain situations that are unique to the person, right? But, you know, we have a tendency in the world to think bigger is better. So someone might buy the Intuos Pro Large and they realize, oh, my arm, trust me, people tell me this. Oh, I have the reach too much. My arm was getting tired. They say it. Not everybody, I don't know what percentage, but certainly some people struggle with this, okay? So, what do? You don't have to suffer. And not many people know this, but you can actually fix that problem. You can't magically shrink the tablet. Hey, Voidouts, glad to hear you back. You can't shrink the tablet, but you can shrink the active area. The normal active area for this tablet is something like, it's like here to here to here. So it's a huge. Most of this tablet is the active area. Can we shrink it? Yeah, we can. So I'm going to show you how to do it. At least I think I know how to do it. I've never actually done it in front of people before. So let me move this thing out of the way. Okay, and then delicious pure water. Okay, let me just check something on my phone very quickly. Okay, it is what it is. Voidouts again, thank you for coming back. And now we want to, let me think about what I need to do here. Okay, I need to clear my screen. And let me just double check what I'm going to show you. Okay, good. You're seeing just this. Great. Now what I want to do is get the Intuos Pro Large in front of me. And for a second, I'm going to try this view, which is not what I want exactly, but it's not totally bad. Let's see if I can fix this. Hang on a minute. Okay, that's better. I think, is that right? Yeah. And then for this, I want, maybe I want the tail air. Okay, yeah, it's actually working. I just don't have the brightness set up the same way. I think I want to do this. And let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, I need more brightness on this thing. That looks decent. Okay. We can switch this out as needed if it's not exactly what I wanted. Okay. So, okay. So what I'm going to show you is I'm drawing here, right? And we're going to show you how to deal with this problem, the active area, okay? Now, let's bring up an application. Give me a second. I'm going to bring up Clip Studio Paint. And just so we can go through this process very cleanly and clearly. Let's see. RF Dale says, I can't even read that actually, so let me go here. I started considering about upgrading from medium to large into S Pro after I tried out precision mode. I knew I needed a larger tablet, plus I really didn't like having to zoom in to draw details. Makes sense. Rain says, yes, I read the page, a lot of good information, thanks. You mentioned drawing faster will normally reduce. Yeah, drawing slower can be bad, absolutely, because there's all sorts of things that make problems from slower. So, I'm going to say a word, I want to make sure I don't give the wrong implication. And I may be using the wrong word. Your hands can have a kind of tremor. Okay, now some tremors there's a medical condition, but sometimes you're just unsteady with your hands. I am unsteady with my hands. Unsteadiness can also be caused by slipperiness. People who draw on an iPad, the pen is unsteady because it's so slippery on the glass. So there's that effect, okay, from the hand and moving around a bit, physically moving the pen. And the other thing is, at slow speeds, the EMR digitizer, lots of digitizers have diagonal wobble. It happens at any angle, actually. They don't have to be lines. It can be curves, but they sort of like will shift the position of the pen slightly left or right or up or down. And you may not notice, but you might notice when you're doing really slow strokes. So there's actually an advantage sometimes in doing a fast stroke, okay? And now, if you do a fast, small stroke, it's hard to control the ends because it's really hard to do a fast stroke exactly in 3 millimeters. But if you zoom in so that 3 millimeters becomes, 7 inches, then a fast stroke like here will be almost by definition be smooth. Okay? Does that make sense, Rain? So drawing slower is not bad, but it's subject to noise, digital noise from the digitizer effectively, and noise from your hand kind of not being perfect, right? Actually, another thing I found, this happens with me sometimes. How can I show you this? It depends on your skin, actually. So let me use a piece of cardboard. This is another effect I found. For example, when my wrist is on a piece of my desk, wood. Sometimes, I don't know, the moisture in my skin or something, it catches the wood, and actually, even though I'm moving the pen sort of smoothly, it'll start juddering and at my wrist because my skin is rotating, and the tablet will actually pick that up in the pen. So, that's an effect when you're going slow, I see, or I've often found. Well, nothing wrong with slow, but it can induce these other effects. Okay, so where was I? I want to get back to this, and I want to go to Clip. Okay, let me make sure where's my pen mounted? Oh, hey, guess what? I need to actually plug in the tablet. Isn't that funny? Don't worry, we'll plug it in. Okay. Okay, it's plugged in, and does Wacom know it's there? let's just double check. Wacom Center. That's great. Oh, I don't have it on Bluetooth mode. Okay. Got it. Okay, now the Wacom Center picks it up. Great, great, great. Okay, and I'm going to bring the Wacom Center down so everyone sees what I've got going on here, right? So, oh, I hate those damn Express keys. So, what we're going to do is we're going to just show you what happens when I'm drawing large. Oh, you can't see the screen because I haven't projected the right monitor. Hang on. Is it tertiary? Is it secondary? Is it primary? It's primary. Okay, there we go. So you see my screen, okay? And I'm gonna minimize the Wacom. Okay, let's create a new picture or document in Clip. Okay. And I lost chat. There we go, now it's back. And let me get some water. Now let's make sure the pen is moving the thing in the right place. It's not, so I'm gonna have to use Wacom Center to configure the pen to go into the right place. Let's do that. Where is my mouse? There we go. Wacom Center, I wanna go to mapping, and I want it to a one display. I don't know which one it is actually. I guess it's this one. Apply. Okay, magically I picked the right one. Okay, and of course I always recommend force proportions for a pen tablet, just to make sure there's no discrepancies. Okay, so now if I move the pen, it's going on the wrong screen for some reason. That was unintended. Let's try this. Apply. It's still not doing it correctly. That's so wild. Is this thing crazy? Okay, hang on. I'm trying to debug why the pen isn't moving in the right place. Okay, it's going to all tablets. Okay, interesting. It's, okay. Yeah. It's very interesting. I'll have to solve this later. There's a little bit of confusion between macOS and Wacom about which monitor it's pointing at. So it's doing the right thing, even though it's telling me it's doing the wrong thing in the Wacom Center. But you can see as I move my hand all the way to the edge. Oh, Jesus, it changed again. Sorry. It flipped back to the behavior I didn't want. Let's try this again. Select one display. Hopefully. Okay, now it seems to be working. So let's minimize this. Okay, yeah, okay, everything's good. I'm in the right place. Okay, let me Control Z. Okay, so if I move to the lower left, right? You see where it is in the monitor. If I move to the lower right, so I have to move to the full distance. Some people find this to be a little crazy to deal with. So let's go to the Wacom Center and see how we can fix this. I want to draw in a smaller area, but I want to keep force proportions. What can we do here? And I think we'll open Advanced here. And let's just take a look. Voidouts, you don't like the slim bezels? I've gotten kind of used to it, honestly. I'm okay with it now. Show advanced options. Turn this on. And let's just here use custom area. Click to define. Oh gosh, that was weird. Actually, let me cancel this. I'm gonna hit escape. I'm gonna do it by dragging, okay? So, And I think there's another way to do this as well, but you can actually set the active area to a much smaller region. Okay? And I'm not gonna worry about force proportions right now. I'm just gonna leave it like this and we'll talk about it another time. But you see what happened here? Like, it's saying a very small part of the tablet is mapped to the display, this display, right? Let's prove that. Okay, let's go back to clip. And now watch what happens. If I go all the way to the upper right-hand corner, you can't see the mouse anywhere, the pointer. It's only when I get right here, right, that the pointer appears. So let me use tab here, so maybe a little easier. You see where the thing is? It's not up here, it's here. And then it's not at the bottom, it shows up here, right? So there's a rectangle in this space. So my point is, if your tablet's too big, you can always tell the active area to shrink, right? Now the challenge I didn't address is how to make it proportional. I thought Wacom actually added a feature for this, or another feature that might have helped. Let me double check to see. In my head it was called Inset. Let me search on Google. Wacom driver Inset. That may have been in the pen display. Oh, I think that may be just for pen displays. So I'll do some research. But anyway, when you use this custom area, the only challenge here is you have to, and we can try tread. We'll try this. I'm going to set this to a really weird area and see how distorted my strokes are, okay? It should be very hard for me to draw a stroke correctly. But maybe force proportions is going to rescue me, so we'll try. Let's see. Actually, that seemed almost correct. So maybe, oops. Okay, I think force proportions might actually be working here. So you can select a smaller area. It will, I think, shrink it even smaller, so force proportions works. To verify this, let me turn off force proportions. There we go. Yeah. So force proportions is the saving grace here. It'll make it as small as it needs to be. If you don't have force proportions, things will be very distorted, which you're going to see in just a second. Like it's very hard for me to draw a circle. Watch this. Right? So keep force proportions on in this case. So this is how you can, save yourself from doing anything really weird, right? You don't have to use the full area. So there's no harm getting a larger tablet. You can shrink it. So if you want a small tablet, you can get a medium. Don't worry about the extra space, right? If you want a medium, you can use a large. You can always shrink down the active area. If you really hate the small bezels of the, if you like the large bezels of the 2017 medium, this is just an option, just throwing it out there. Get the 2025 large, change the active area. You can get as big bezels as you want. How's that? Okay? So that's another option for you. Okay, need more water. Okay, let's get back and hang on one second. Oh, my music, there we go. Okay, so I did that, and there we go. Let's see if there's other things. We just talked about doing the partial area mapping. Okay, there's some other data here I really want to talk about, which is whiteboarding. What size you need for whiteboarding. So, you think that's a good compromise? Vote-outs? That's good to hear. If you're whiteboarding, I would say, my example here is Khan Academy. So Sal Khan actually uses, he actually brought his tablet up, and it was pretty clear. You can't see it in this picture so clearly, but he had another view of it, and I see these tablets a lot, so I know. he was using an Intuos Pro Medium. This is a PTH 660, right? You don't need a 660, but the key thing is it's a medium, so it's about 10.5 inches, okay, in terms of diagonal. Yeah, and this is, we talked about the different size recommendations. I think the vast majority of people, honestly, I typically, if you're drawing, I'd recommend between 16 and 24, right? I wouldn't get all the way down into the 12 or 13 range, a lot of cases. It'll work for a lot of people, but I would recommend this range. I am playing in this range most often, the 22 inch, maybe the 24, right? Let's see. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to make sure people realize, because not everyone knows about this actually. Let me get out of this and go back to clip. So, yeah, you can just see my screen. So, this is normally what you see. So the palettes on the right and the left take away from the canvas. If you want to draw with smoother strokes, you need a bigger canvas. If you want to make use of your pen displays full screen, you want the full canvas. Lots of applications have a shortcut. In Clip Studio Paint and Krita, I think it's Tab. So if I click Tab, the palettes go away. So you have your full space, almost all of it, for the canvas, right? So if you're using a 13 and it's a little too small, you can free up space. Now, not everyone likes the palettes coming and going. I'm okay with it. Sorry, I'm not okay with it actually. I prefer to see the palettes. But it's definitely an option for some people, right? It's definitely an option for some people. Okay, let's get back here. And there was a slide I had called the iPad factor. I probably do want to talk about this a little bit. Now, in general, I think if people are looking for a pen display or a drawing tablet, if they have an iPad, I will often tell them, you've got something that will basically act like a drawing tablet, so try using it, right? Instead of buying a new device. But the other thing is, since so many people have iPads or devices that are similar, you can see the sizes of the iPads here. There are like 8.8 inches, 11 inches, 13 inches. You should use this as a starting ground for understanding what you like to draw with, right? So because the iPad is about 13 inches, a 13-inch tablet will be around the same size. You have already a built-in expectation, right? So I just want to point that out. Either, use an iPad if you have it, or if you don't, since you're used to drawing a 13-inch or an 11-inch, you can think about doing this, right, for a pen display. Get a 12 or 13-inch, right? I talk about what I use. I use large pen tablets, like the Intuos Pro 2017 large, 2025 large, and I love 22 inches for pen displays. That's my sweet spot. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. We went through a lot of really interesting and different things about drawing tablet sizes. Let me just double check to make sure there isn't anything else I wanted to talk about with drawing tablet sizes here. Let me check my document site. We talked about matching it to paper. We talked about choosing the right size. Yeah, I think we hit all the major items. So I'll hang out here. I might get some work done, or respond to any questions. But with that, I think we got through some major stuff here. And I'm going to take a bio break, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay. Okay, I am back. Let me get my earphone, got new AirPods in, so let me reconnect them. Give me one moment. Where are they? Hmm. Interesting. Why aren't these working? Something. Can everyone hear me in the stream? I think it is coming through to you, but I'm not getting my audio working, so I'm just looking for you to confirm that, please. Let me figure out what's going on. Because if I can't hear it, even though you can, it tells me something else might be going on with the audio, so I just want to confirm that. Okay, while I'm waiting for that, let's just take a look at what comments are there. Voidouts had a question but forgot. I'll wait for you, Voidouts. Some professionals make all their work on an iPad. What do you think of that 13 size? Well, that's an interesting question. To be honest, you have to remember the way I draw. I kind of draw in bed a lot, and I draw sort of sitting down on a couch, that kind of thing. And for me, 13 inches is like just too much. It's just basically too big if I'm lying down on my stomach. That's why I actually, believe it or not, I prefer the 11-inch iPad. Now I have, I forgot what you call that. There's like this board where you put the iPad in and it sits inside, so it has like a huge bezel. And I've used that, and a 13-inch works good there. The problem is it just feels awkward to have this kind of setup with this tiny screen, right? So I do actually, thank you, Tia, thank you. It's good to know what do I think of OLED versus LCD? I have never been too sensitive to the benefits of OLED. Like, I recognize that the blacks are really deep, but to be honest, in practical terms, I haven't found too much benefit for what I do, right? I definitely agree that certain, looking at, let's say, a movie on them works great, but I haven't found it so critical for like drawing, right? And especially the kind of work I do. The thing that OLED, might promise again with those enhanced color and contrast, just don't affect the way I do things. For example, unlike a lot of people, I just work in sRGB, right? Like, so my color needs are not very advanced. I don't need like a really wide gamut. And I don't know if OLED really provides many advantages, really. Another example is my iPad. I got the iPad Pro with that dual OLED layer thing. Honestly, I use that every day, and I can barely tell the difference from my Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, right? Like, it just doesn't strike me. But again, when I'm watching a movie or something, it does come out more. So I'm not. That's my feeling. I don't think OLED is necessary. I'll be curious to have it on more devices. I'm also honestly a little nervous about it because, we're still learning, I think, how long they last. Some people I talk to are super confident. They're like, oh, the burnout is no worse than LCD. But, that might be with watching movies and things. But when we're drawing, we have palettes and UI fixed on the screen constantly. And I don't think that would work for me. Another thing, and this is just me, I just leave my monitors on and pen displays on all 24/7. They're not off. They're always displaying something. Now, whether that's a good thing for the environment or not is one question, but I'm afraid I would wear through an OLED. In fact, my MoveInk, where did it go? It's one of the few times I actually turn off a pen display because I'm always really nervous about the OLED, right? Nothing's been proven to be a problem for me, but it is something that crosses my mind. The other OLED advantage I thought I'd be getting is really thin displays. And yes, the MoveInk is super thin, but the thing that's always confused me is why aren't these LCD displays also thin? Because the other iPads I had are super thin compared to, a Wacom Cintiq 16. And I'm like, why can't we get that same thinness? There are laptops, Surface Pro like 8, 9, 10, etc. They're like, half an inch thin. And they just have normal LCDs. So what's stopping that from working with Wacom and getting us a really thin LCD display? That I've never been able to understand that, actually. I do not know why they're so thick. And would OLEDs even fix that? I thought they would. They have in the case of the MoveInk. So again, for me, OLED is not providing a lot of advantages, But Tio, I'm curious what your position is on it. Okay, let's see. Rain did have. I think I missed one of Rain's questions. Rain has a question. Okay, how do you think about posture and the tablet's angle affects drawing? Look, I think you got to take care of that posture. Look, I am, I'm about to I am in my mid 50s, and it's something I'm very conscious of right now is the shrimping, as they call it, bending over like this, which I was horrible at. Yoga, some years ago I did some yoga. It's helped me get a better posture, and I have less back pain now than I used to. So I think as much as possible, this is why I use pen tablets. I keep my back up, I keep my inner core constricted, and I keep my back as straight as I can. Of course, like everybody, I'll slump a little bit and I'll readjust myself. With pen tablets, it's easy. With pen displays, that's one of the things I struggle with, honestly, is even though my back is much better, I still feel there's more strain. After about an hour, I kind of don't want to use a pen display. Let's see, Tio says, I personally prefer LCD. They look better in lower brightness for some reason. Okay, I hadn't thought about that. I'll have to try that out. I have a couple of OLED displays, and I'll test them in lower brightness. That surprises me, though. But I can see it maybe. Like, OLEDs are... Okay, yeah, I'll try it out. I'll try it. Interesting. Kenneth Ross, would you still recommend the Huion Canvas 13 Gen 3 as the best beginner pen display despite the dial issue? Or is the XP Pen Artist 15.6 Pro V2 better because of the size? Honestly, yeah, I've heard about the dial issue. Let me just be clear for everyone's not clear. Some users of the Canvas 13 Gen 3 are reporting an issue with the dials, okay? And I think they're reporting it with the 16 as well. Now, number one, I don't know. I do not think the problem is super, super widespread, okay? Like, I don't think it's every unit. Neither of my Gen 3 models exhibit that problem, okay? And I test them periodically to see if they have that problem. Number two, I answer a lot of questions on the tablet subreddits. And while I do think there is an uptick in this dial issue, based on my other times when I've seen real problems, this is not a major, this is not like everybody's getting the problem. I would guess it's a real problem for a small percentage of people, but of course those people go online and talk about it. Now, I don't know what the cause of the problem is. I still think, honestly, the Canvas 13 Gen 3 and Canvas 16 Gen 3 are in my top recommendations. Nope, I don't have any hesitation about that, okay? Because of the dial issue, I think it is very good if you get those tablets that you get them from a retailer, Amazon, great example, that make returns easy, okay? Because the last thing you need to do, sometimes Huion seems to do a really good job with returns, and sometimes it seems like there's some friction. I don't know about the specific case, but you know, Amazon seems to have like the best return policy, okay? And again, I don't think the issue is widespread. So if you got another Gen 3, I don't know if you'd have the same problem. I think you probably wouldn't. I don't think it's super widespread. I hope we figure out what the problem is. I certainly pray that it's not a hardware problem. I'm hoping it's like some sort of driver firmware problem, but I haven't seen, I have to dig through the threads. I haven't seen if anyone's found a solution, either from themselves or by Huion, okay? Let's see, Tia says, I don't think OLED burnout is that much of an issue. Samsung has OLED since Tab S34 and S10, and there haven't been widespread complaints of OLED burn-in. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And I did watch a video someone shared with me that Wacom made, and two of their engineers mentioned that they have something they're doing in the electronics of the panel, the OLED panel, that is meant as a protective measure. They didn't elaborate what it does, but I can tell you from my Move-Ink, I haven't noticed anything, right? Again, I'm not the heaviest user of it, but I'm definitely paranoid about it, and I haven't noticed anything. We'll see. Look, I'm okay with using OLEDs. I'm just, you know, I've had LCDs for so long, and they've just been so reliable. I'm sort of very nervous about changing, right? But I'm getting more confidence, actually, as people use them. Lost side. Well, there's something that I can suggest, Shirley, and that would really help out with grainy video that I can observe. You should try to avoid gradients, and especially dark gradients in the video. So lost side, let me just make sure I understand. So the gradient, which I think what you mean is like the background, right? Because there is a strong gradient from the middle toward the outer edge. That can cause some graininess and banding, I'm assuming. So I can minimize that the next time. And you're saying especially avoid dark gradients in the video. And do you mean my pre-recorded videos or the live streams or both? I'm happy to try out different techniques. Do you know Gerald Undone? Let's get undone. Yes, I love his channel. I'm not like a real photography camera geek, but he's really just entertaining, and I love his, he does these studio tours, right? And I love that. My favorite one was the one he did with Legal Eagle. That was great. Oh, Lost Side. No intrusion at all. Glad to have people talk and share what's going on. What are those orange lights in the back? It's, let's see, I can tell you. Hang on a second. I know it's an Amaran. It is a, let's see. What is it actually? Does it show me? I named it as wall light, but I'm not sure if it actually has the name anywhere here. Okay, I forgot the name. It's like a panel light from Amaran. It's an aperture light, okay? So it in fact, yeah, I can just change it right now. Like it can get really intense. This is crazy, right? By the way, can you guess, you know, it goes from 0 to 100% intensity. Can you guess what intensity this is? 8%, okay? Just to show you, let me crank it up to 100. That is what 100% looks like with this light, right? It is bright. It is incredibly bright. So I'm gonna put it back down to 8%. What in my stream, this is off now. What I did yesterday, and I'm cranking it back up. This is 1.4%, by the way. What I did yesterday was actually I was more like this, right? Tell me if this works out better. I'm happy to see. Maybe it was a little more. Yeah, a little more like that. I think is probably yesterday's. It's a bright light. I have an f1.4 lens on my Sony a7 IV in front of me, so it picks up a lot of light. And my streaming software is not doing anything to the image. What you're seeing is straight out of the camera, okay? So, and this took me like years to get to this state. So if anyone has any feedback on what to change, you let me know. I'm more than happy to experiment and try. Let's see, Lost Side. I hope one day he comes and visits your studio and gives you purple star. Oh man, he would be really happy. I hope he does. That would be awesome. But I have to tell you, I'd be afraid to be him to come over here and see what I do. This studio, which used to be my bedroom actually, is so janky with tablets everywhere and cords and cables. When I see some people like Legal Eagle with really ultra clean setups, this hardly seems that special. Though, I tell you what, I've been meaning to do this. I'm going to, after the stream, I'm going to take a photo of what I see. So you can see the light, the teleprompter, the 3 monitors, and you can't see it. There's a stand that goes like up, and there's a bar across. That's where a microphone, there's another light hanging right in front of me, and my overhead camera hanging, right? So I'll share that at least, and you can see what my studio, right? Does it look like a newsroom? I like that. I love that. I'm going for that, right? That's why lately I've been wearing suits and ties to these videos. And in fact, every now and then I do a segment called Drawing Tablet News. So I might sort of play into that news bit a little bit more. But that's awesome. Yeah, I never thought I'd hear Gerald Undone being mentioned in the stream, right? That's fascinating. Because when I first started thinking about recording YouTube videos for work, and because we were all on Zoom or Teams or whatever, I started watching all these channels because I had some, like everyone, I did some photography as a hobby. I discovered I'm very bad at it. So I had all this photography equipment, laying around, and I thought, oh, let me start applying it to my work videos. And then I started doing it streaming, and so now I am constantly playing around with lighting and bouncing lights and all these kinds of things. Let's see. I think it's better than the red, but just my opinion, Stielbach says. Yeah, I like this neutrality, right? I told somebody, let me just do it and you'll see what I'm getting. I told somebody I wanted to avoid this. Like streamers do, right? They always have a blue background, right? I got to turn this down to like 3 or something. And this is like the classic streamer thing. The background is blue, or maybe it's kind of purple, or whatever. And I thought I didn't want to look like a streamer, so to speak, right? I just wanted to look a little more neutral, a little more professional. Well, I hate using the word professional. I would just say more neutral, more I think the subdued colors work better because a lot of what I do is, the delivery of information and facts. At least I hope they're facts. And I definitely feel more serious when it's gray, believe it or not. The only reason I change it to color is sometimes I'm playing, right? Let's see. Just add a rolling bottom. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna I am not joking. I'm gonna do that. I've wanted to have a segment where I'm, at a desk, and hang on, let me just get it here. You'll see. I'm at a desk and I go, breaking news. Wacom has released this, like that. Yeah, that would be something I'd really love to do, right? And I will do it. I promise you I will do it. I will absolutely do that. Let's see, add rotating and really put the lid. Yep. You like his studio tours? Yeah, they're fantastic, aren't they? They give me so many ideas for how I want to do things, right? And I'm so jealous of you can see that, especially with Legal Eagle, he's a lawyer, but man, he knows this equipment. He knows which lens he's using, which lights he's using. He's got it all set up. It made me realize, these are very, what do you call it? These people have they have multiple talents, right? And a lot of passion for it. Oh, let's see. Boy, Wacom releases Wacom Intuo C 2045. For those who missed it earlier in the stream, what Voidots is referring to, if I can find it, here is to help people understand how to figure out what size tablet they need. I said they should actually cut out cardboard, and that way they'll know what it feels like, right? So this is what the C refers to, the cardboard Wacom Intuos Pro. Let's see, if you don't mind, Gerald did make a video on how to choose backgrounds 3 weeks ago. I will absolutely check it out. Thank you, Lost Side. Thank you, Lost Side. Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to look like a streamer, right? I mean, I know that technically now I am a streamer, but I didn't want to just look like, you know, some guy doing what everyone else did, right? I'm gonna have to imitate something, and I thought a little more serious thing would be nice, right? By the way, I haven't told you this. I've mentioned it a couple of times on the stream. I actually want to do an interview, right? Actually, wanted to get Nobu Ide, who's the CEO of Wacom. I want to see if I can convince them to do an interview with Nobu, right? I would love to get him on. Tio, if you're still on, hey, do you want to do like a collab? And I'd love to do an interview because obviously I watch your channel for the drawing tablets, but also I really enjoy your videos when you're out in the world doing your watercolor or your not watercolor, but like that drawing you do. I think that's really cool. But yeah, if you're interested, and maybe we can set that up. Okay, Legal Eagle is really sharp one. He also covered Captain Disillusion. Oh, that's right. Was really felt like a family tour. Yeah, absolutely. Sorrel Skydancer, have you tried the Nano Texture iPad? You know, Sorrel, I have not, and it's been deliberate. Let me tell you why. First of all, I think the Nano Texture is a really cool idea. And I haven't really kept up with the latest, but let me tell you why I didn't get it. Number one, it's like, actually, what's the Nano Texture cost? Let me just look it up. Nano Texture cost. $100. Nate, let me speak in the accent of my people. There ain't no way I'm paying $100 for Nano Texture. I grew up in West Virginia, okay? There ain't no way. That's crazy. I'm not gonna do it. Oh no, Tio, you got a cough? Okay, let's wait till you're better. I don't wanna, I know how difficult it is to deal with coughing. I'm asthmatic, sometimes I get really bad lung infections, so yeah, let's give it some time until you've healed and let's have a chat, okay? Let's get to know each other and I think the audiences will love it, by the way. And we're always leading with that, by the way, with interviews is, we were joking a little bit about this is kind of like a news thing, right? I actually want to discover the personalities, right? I actually, I don't think I've said this before, but at Microsoft, where I worked for 28 years, I interviewed a lot of people. And when I say interview, I mean, I interviewed them to hire them. I did lots of interviews. But also, I was interviewing them like I'm in a TV show. That would be recorded and published inside Microsoft. And I've always been told I'm a very good interviewer, right? And I think I am. I'm a good conversationalist. So I wanted to take that, when I'm very interested in that. I love discovering people's stories. So I wanted to take that and sort of explore the digital art world through that lens of talking to people, right? Because the goal of this channel really, oddly enough, is not drawing tablets. It's just the first topic that I started with that I thought would take me a couple of weeks. It's taken 2 years of my life to go through all this. 2 years and $45,000 of tablets. But I want to do more. It's about creativity. Really what I'm trying to be is about, in the digital sense. So I want to connect with people who are doing more, even traditional, by the way, right? So that's what I'm interested in doing. Oh, so back to nanotexture Sorrel. So there's the cost. The other thing that really scared me off, honestly, the cost wasn't that big a deal. It was I was told, at least when it first came out, oh, you have to be super careful with the nanotexture. You can't just clean it with random stuff. You have to use Apple's proprietary nanotexture microfiber thing, otherwise something bad's gonna happen. And let's be honest with myself, I'm not gonna clean something to that extent. Look, I am obsessive about a lot of things in my life, but cleaning glass is not one of them. Okay, with special expensive microfiber cloth. So those are the reasons I actually did not get the nanotexture, right? Maybe my opinions will change, right? But because of the way they talked about it, it made me believe the nanotexture was fragile, like you could damage it. Now, I'm not sure if they really meant that, but I got that fear because the way they talked about how careful you have to be to clean it, I'm like, oh, it could be damaged. I don't want to do that. I don't want to waste, because it's a permanent destruction, right? You can't easily replace that. Let's see, T.O. is saying nanotexture is great, but it's not worth it from Apple because they overcharge for the storage before you can even. Oh, you have to get more storage, like a higher end model to get the nanotexture. That's crazy. That is crazy. Wow. Okay, lost side. I wanted advice from someone who has really good experience on displays for drawing. I would join college next year, medical college. Fantastic. We need more people in medical college. I was on track for that, but I decided to like computers more. So I want to know if I should go for AMOLED or LCD Apple. Honestly, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. I will say this: if you find yourself maybe really you want the brightest and like you're watching a lot of movies on it, maybe the OLED one would be better. Maybe, right? But I don't notice the difference, honestly. I just do not. Or at least it's not a big difference in my eyes. Let's see. It's great that there are now more companies putting out tablets with matte glass at no extra cost. Yes, yes. Xiaomi Pad 7, many of Huawei's MatePad, some of Lenovo, Huion Canvas Studio 16. Yeah, it's good. It's good that they're doing that. It's only Apple that's charging for matte texture, and that's awful. I will say, I can get the logic a little bit. There is a lot of glare. There's a reduction in contrast and, vividness. I don't have any other word for that with, etched glass. So I kind of get it. They came with, smooth glass. But yeah, it's just weird that they charge for it, right? And they kind of brand it like some special thing, like, what? It's not that special, it's just etched glass. That's a really great niche to follow, bringing different perspectives in drawing genre. Yeah, exactly. There's so much to explore. And, I told you guys how old I am, and I would say in my audience, compared to my audience, I've been using digital art stuff for a long time, right? Technically, my first tablet was, I think, in 1987 or something, right? That was a Koala pad, by the way. And maybe it was 89. No, it was definitely early before that. But there was a time when, there weren't creative applications in the way we knew them today. There was a time when I wasn't sure we would have creative applications because there didn't seem to be a business case for it. Okay, like we were rapidly losing what I thought was creative applications, but the internet changed everything, right? So we only have more crazy stuff ahead, right? And I love to see how people create, right? I just absolutely love it. Let's see. Tio says the expensive cloth for cleaning Adobe nanotexture glass, it's bullshit. You can use any cloth, okay? You use your t-shirt, and you don't notice that it causes any scratch or anything, because the way they talked about that special cloth scared the hell out of me. I thought, oh my God, I have to have special cloth and I have to be careful the last thing I can do with a device is be super careful. I'm too clumsy, I'm too like forgetful, like something bad's gonna happen, right? Fingerprint smudges are much easier to clean off matte glass. Really? Okay, I wouldn't have thought that. Well, if a professional approves both displays, yeah. Get whatever works for your budget, right? Like, if you can't take a look at the things and watch a movie and do whatever else you want to do with it, but like, I think you'll be happy either way. I don't think there's a huge difference, right? Growing up in an environment where smooth scratchless screens were like such a soothing thing, these matte displays do reduce glare, but they can't. It's true, they can't beat the feeling of opening a smooth screen laptop. There's something really magical about opening up, certain devices, and like it's just so vivid. I won't criticize it. It's if you can deal with that, then they look great. And if you're in a controlled environment where you don't see glare on them, they're fantastic. Probably they would actually work for me because you can't see it obviously, but my actual office is pretty dark. There's only a couple of lights on there. It's pretty dim. The brightest things are the monitors, so there's really not a lot of glare from the ceiling. Even in the middle of the day, the curtains are drawn. It's really dark. So even then, I don't feel like they would benefit me, I think, and they would have very few downsides. But I just don't think it's worth it. Let's see. If glass can be scratched by cloth, that's lousy quality glass. Fair. It's just the way they talked about it scared me. Oh, even XP Pen and Magic Drawing Pad has matte glass too. Even cheap UG tablets have matte glass. Yeah, they all have this kind of etched glass, so I never understand why Apple makes a big deal about it. By the way, Tio, have you had a chance to use the Magic Drawing Pad Gen 2? I'm really curious if you have. I didn't use Gen 1, but I just got Gen 2 a couple of weeks ago and I tried it out, so I'm just curious if we're going to see a video coming from you on that soon. Let's see. Okay, Lost Side. Hey, thanks for stopping by and thanks for some of the comments. It was really nice. Again, I think you're the one who brought up Gerald Dunn, so that was a very nice surprise for the stream. Okay, let's just see. Okay, I'm just shy of 4 hours of streaming. It's less than my 6 hours yesterday. So, you know what? I think I'm going to call it a night. Who knows? If I can't get to sleep, I'll stream again later. But everyone, Tio, it was so good to have you join the stream. And again, as soon as, once you're better, let's talk about a little bit of an interview collab. That'd be such a fantastic and fun experience. Lost Side, thank you. And anyone else who's online, please, thank you so much. And I will be streaming again soon. Okay? Okay, everyone, have a great day. See you all soon. Oh, I see. Tio answered. XP Pen told me they call it Magic Drawing Pad 2025 instead of Gen 2 since it's not a significant. Okay, got it. I will use that in my documentation. Okay, thank you, Tio. Okay, everyone. Thanks again. Have a great night. And we are done.